Okay. Nervous and exciting. I'm actually streaming live to the internet as we start class. Okay. So I just want to remind everyone about the websites and the services that we're going to be using over the course of the next of this semester. I've gone ahead and upgraded, or excuse me, I've uploaded all the content for this week's material on Renderography. So if you haven't pulled up renderography.com, go to it now. I want to have everyone kind of get our hands dirty on what it's going to look like every week as far as the structure. So I'm on renderography.com, and in the upper right-hand corner of the page, you can see the horizontal nav bar. Find our class. There it is, GCOM 402. And when you click on it, you're going to see that every single week there's going to be a new post. And inside that new post, there's going to be a tremendous amount of content. Let's cruise through today's. I always like to start the day off by giving kind of a nice overview, a 10,000-yard description, if you will, of what we're going to be discussing in today's lecture and lab materials. So in the introduction to 3D modeling, let's cruise into it. Let's take a look. Today is going to be a challenging day for all of us because, as I mentioned last week, I have to begin to reprogram your brains today from thinking in 2D to thinking in 3D. And you, sir, is your machine not working? Let's see.
I don't know.
You're shut down. Computer has a problem. Hit open. Let's see what happens. Just keep cruising.
Restarted. I don't know why.
Okay. It's a bug. We'll fix it, though. We'll fix it. So I have to start reprogramming your brains starting today from thinking in 2D to thinking in 3D. It's going to be a big challenge. There's going to be a tremendous amount of new material being thrown your way. So we're going to try to step through it as slow as we can. But to help you out, I've assembled some really great video tutorials that I've crafted and some other things that I found on the web that should aid you in the process of understanding how to create our first models in 3D. Okay? Over the course of the next week, you're going to be accomplishing two different things. One, you may be able to knock out today in the lab assignment. The other, the homework assignment, is going to be a little bit more comprehensive as we start to explore our first project. So if we cruise over to the homework tab, check it out. You're going to see that today is the infamous coffee cup week. Everyone makes a coffee cup. Yes?
How do I get to this?
So this is just in a web browser. Open up any web browser, www.renderography.com. Classes, yeah. Then find our class, GCOM 402. Okay. Were you able to find it, Liam? I want to take your silence as a yes. Okay. Is it just randomly restarting on you, Yusra?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, well, we'll see what we can do. Have you noticed where it restarts?
Now I opened the Modo. I tried to open it and it just restarted.
Restarted. Okay, let it continue to boot up. I think it's still in the opening throes of its startup procedures, then we'll go from there. Okay. We'll see if we can get you working here. Okay. All right. So today we're going to start the infamous coffee cup assignment, or this week we're going to start our infamous coffee cup. Now this is going to challenge you because this is going to be the first true three-dimensional model that many of you guys have made inside of Modo. So we're going to take it slow. We're going to talk about all the foundation level ideas and practices and procedures that you're going to need to accomplish something that looks like this down here in the bottom. If you are freaking out right now, don't worry about it. We're going to step you through all of this stuff, and by the end of the week, you're going to be able to get to something like that. Okay? This is going to require some time outside of class to get to this level of detail on your first model, but it's very, very simple. I think once you start getting your hands dirty with the application, you'll quickly find that that we're going to be using one tool over and over again to make this shape. So that's going to be the goal for our assignment this week. To help you guys out, because I know it's kind of shaky and kind of difficult on week one, I've given you guys access to a really cool little video. It's a time-lapse video of me performing the homework assignment. So if you're confused on the sequence of steps, or if you're just completely lost on what in the world it is that we're trying to do, or if you need a visual refresher as to the goal of this assignment, watch the time-lapse videos. Now these are time-lapse videos. They've been sped up. Because I'm taking 30 minutes of production time, and I'm distilling it, condensing it into like 5 or 6 minutes, or however long the video is. This is not designed to give you a verbal explanation of the sequence. It's just a visual explanation of the sequence. And that's usually the hitching point. That's usually the hard part about, about 3D modeling, is just figuring out where to start, okay? So this is going to give you a nice visual example as to what the goal for this project is really going to be. So watch the time-lapse video. It's under this image right here, okay? When you're all finished with your homework, you're going to be submitting it through D2L. D2L is live and active. We'll come back to that here in a minute, okay? All right. So that's going to be your homework assignment for this week. Let's just talk real fast about what our lab assignment's going to be. We'll come back and we'll really dig into these in a minute. But for the overview, we're going to be creating 5 simple shapes for our lab assignments. The purpose of this assignment is just to kind of get our hands dirty with working in Modo and building something that's pretty simple to construct. At the end of this process, at the end of this very simple, small lab assignment, you're going to be handing in 2 files. You're going to be handing in the project file and then your first render, okay? So this is kind of what we're doing for lab. More on this later, but that's what's coming down the pipe, okay? As always, in the resources section on the website, I've given you guys access to some really cool things. Let's just kind of talk about them real fast. Under the documents section, okay, there are some important documents that I want you guys to download. I've given you access to the keyboard shortcuts for Modo. It's a PDF that contains all the keyboard shortcuts. This is an excellent, excellent, excellent resource to save to your personal thumb drive and keep with you at all times, okay? I don't go anywhere without my keyboard shortcuts, and that's a great PDF to have in your back pocket. In addition, you're also going to need these 2 files, okay? These are 2 little zipped archives of information that you'll need for this week's homework, okay? The first one are the backdrop images that you're going to be using to build your coffee cup. And then the second one is just some pictures, some reference images of the object that we're going to be creating. More on this later as we get closer to the explanation of what the homework's going to be about. But you'll need to save all 3 of these documents and keep them with you when you leave class today. To help you out, I've created a whole bunch of videos that will directly address all of the stuff that we're going to be talking about today. So in addition to getting access to the live stream of this video lecture, I think starting tomorrow, I also have what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7 videos that completely encapsulate everything that we're going to talk about today. So if you are completely lost, watch the videos, watch the live stream. You're always going to get access to the information that was discussed in class in one of those 2 different mediums. So I'm a giver. I give, and then I give some more. I give you live streams, I give you video tutorials, I give you shortcuts, everything you need in the resources section. And a time-lapse video. Awesome. Okay. I've also placed some links down at the bottom that you might want to reference for your own personal library. I've crafted a website called Modopedia. It's a fantastic, fantastic learning resource that I actually designed for this class. I mentioned it last week, but it's so awesome. Well, I think it's awesome. I'm a little biased because I made it, but it is kind of cool because it houses all of the free video tutorials on Modo that I can find on the web. I trolled the internet for like a couple months last summer, and I compiled this mega database of links and information, and I've put it all on one website for you guys. It's really easy to navigate. It's really easy to find all the information that you need, and you can very quickly jump to that website by visiting this link down here at the bottom. Luxology are the developers of Modo. They also have some really great video tutorials on their website. That's where you can find them. Okay, it's called luxology.tv. And if you're interested in creating purchasing an educational license for Modo, this link here is going to take you to the page on the Luxology website that will give you more information on the steps and the process for purchasing that academic license. As I mentioned last week, there's no expectation for you guys to buy Modo in any capacity. But if you want to, there it is, all right? One other thing about the educational license for Modo, back in about April of this year, Luxology offered a free 30-day trial of Modo, so look for that too. So if you want to get a free 30-day copy of Modo, you can go onto their website, try it out for free for 30 days, and it's a full unlocked version of the app. It's pretty cool. All right? Okay. However, I would recommend doing that like in November when we're getting closer to finals. That way you can work at home on your final project and not have to come to class or to the design lab to finish up your assignments. Okay? All right. Questions, questions, questions. Everyone good? Everyone ready to rock and roll? Yes, sir.
I'd like to ask you a little question where I can get
Okay.
a picture. I see, I snuck a peek at
Fantastic.
Do I get the picture of the coffee cup off of Google or something like that to that extent?
It's going to be in the backdrop images there, the second link from the top under the important documents section. That's where you're going to be able to, that's where you're going to be able to download and save this image to your local computer. Okay? More on that later. We're going to revisit all of this stuff in detail as we get closer to that moment in time. All right? You guys ready to rock and roll? Ready to hit it? All right, shake it off, because we're jumping in right now, and it's going to get pretty heavy. Okay? All right, so 3D 101. Let's kick into it. Okay? So we're going to be working in a program called Modo. You can find the application launcher or the application icon down in your dock. It's this one right here. It's the big black dot with the yellow outline. It's Modo 701. And let's just launch the app and take a look at how it works. Okay? So everyone follow along. If you're sitting in front of a machine, you have access to the application, launch the application. The fastest and the easiest way to jump into learning any 3D program is to get your hands dirty. So I want you to follow along with me as we go through the lecture today. So welcome to Modo. Welcome to your new home away from home. This is what the application looks like. So let me give you a small, quick little tour of what we're going to be working with here. The Modo interface is really broken out into 4 major sections. Let's start with the first one. Modo, since it's kind of a new application on the horizon, has taken a lot of inspiration from some other kind of industry standard apps. And specifically, what I'm talking about is Photoshop. A lot of the way Modo works is inspired by the Photoshop functionality. And I think that is a good thing, because Photoshop is the common denominator in our world. Everyone knows Photoshop. And if you're just starting your journey as a 3D artist or working in the media industry, you need to take our Photoshop class. It's GCOM 330. It's awesome. You need to know Photoshop. So like Photoshop, the left-hand part of the interface is our toolbar. Check it out. What I'm specifically talking about is this area, all of this stuff in our interface. Now, if you look very, very carefully at this section of the interface, and let me zoom in so you guys can see what I'm talking about. This part of our interface has really been broken up into a whole series of vertical tabs. So it's not just the tools that you see here aren't the only tools that we have access to in Modo. There are hundreds of tools that we can use to make some really, really incredible shapes. So the guys down at Luxology have masterfully kind of organized all of these tools into a whole series of vertical tabs. Check it out. If you look at what we got going on here, we're in the basic tab, which is this first one, and we got deformation tools, we have duplication tools, we have tools that are just specifically designed to work with vertices and polygons. I got some other. I've purchased some third-party tools that allow me to do some really neat things. But it's all in a whole series of vertical tabs. Okay, get used to the idea of going in and out of these vertical tabs to find the tools that you're going to need. Okay. However, the guys down at Luxology, they're hardcore 3D modelers. They are, they're kind of part of our family. They know the workflow that we're going to be using at any given day. So they've kind of put the all-stars on this Basics tab. You're going to find a majority of the tools that we're going to be using over and over and over again right here in the Basics tabs. It really is kind of cool, okay? Including, if you look very specifically here, well, we got all of these tools on this row and on this row allow us to very quickly create some basic shapes. So we're going to be using those for our lab assignment here momentarily, okay? Now, if we start cruising down, there are some other really important elements in the mix. Like this row, for example, is going to allow us to move, rotate, and scale all of our three-dimensional objects around in our scene. So the basic tools section is kind of our bread and butter. This is where we're going to be living and working for a majority of the first 2 or 3 weeks in this class, okay? So basic tab, it's our favorite. Now, this part of the interface, the left-hand side of the interface, is really kind of broken up into 2 areas. And let me zoom out a little bit here, and I can show you what I'm talking about. Now, I want you, we've been, over the past couple minutes, we've really been focusing on what I would say this part of the interface, right? But check it out. Look right there. There's a big divider line within the app, okay? And this part of the interface, this column, has been broken up into 2 sections. The top section gives us access to all of our tools. And the bottom section is going to give us access to all of our tool options. Like, for example, let me show you what I'm talking about just to illustrate this idea. If I was to activate the cube tool, for example, check it out. The moment I hit the cube tool, what happens downstairs? It's populated with all the options for that tool. So the left-hand side of the interface, that's like tool world. It's our tool bag, okay? Tools up tops, options downstairs, okay? Make sense? Pretty easy, right? Okay, let's keep cruising on the interface tour. So the first part of the Modo interface is that left-hand column. The second part of our Modo interface is probably the most obvious, and I apologize. I've been messing around with my layout. Let me just restore my layout so what you see on my screen looks identical to what you see on your screen. So the second part of the Modo interface is this guy right in here. And what I'm talking about is this part, okay? All of this stuff in here. That center window is called our OpenGL Viewport. This is a window into our three-dimensional scene. Now, we're going to do something together as a class here, and I want everyone to do this, okay? I want you to go to the top of your screen, and there's a pull-down menu called Geometry. If you go into that pull-down menu, let's just do it real fast. So Geometry, I'm up here at the top. Geometry, and then we have Unit Primitives. Within that option, there's a sub-menu, and I want you to go to In Current Mesh, and choose Teapot. Teapot. We have a teapot, okay? Now some of you are, I can see as I walk around the room here, I can see the teapots showing up on your viewport. If yours is very tiny, okay? Here's what I want you to do. I want you to hit the A key. Hit the A. A is an alpha. What this is going to do is automatically fit your teapot within the confines of our OpenGL viewport. So let me hit A, boom, and now it's bigger. Here's our first little 3D model that we're going to be playing with over the next 30 or 40 minutes. Now that we have some geometry sitting in our scene, we can see the importance and the role of this center window. It truly is a window into our three-dimensional scene. This is the workhorse, because this is the area that we're going to be seeing all of our stuff, if you will, all of our 3D models and our animations. It's important that we understand how to work with inside this environment. So we're going to go over some keyboard shortcuts that I want you guys to commit to memory. These are critical elements that you definitely want to write down in your notes. I'll write them down on the board so everyone can, kind of get that reinforcer. If you look carefully at what what I'm going to do here on the scene, check it out. I want to be able to see different parts of my model. I want to be able to, check out the spout, for example. Zoom in. Pretty cool looking spout. Maybe I want to check out the handle, and I need to, so I'm constantly going to be moving and orbiting and rotating my view to understand and work on different areas of my three-dimensional scene. So let's go over the keyboard shortcuts that allow us to work inside of our environment. And there's 3 of them. The first one is going to be called the orbit. Check it out. This is what an orbit looks like. And if you look very carefully, what am I doing inside my three-dimensional scene? Yeah, so I'm basically rotating around my model, right? In the Modo world, this is called orbit. Oh, okay, good. My biggest fear as a teacher is that I'm just going to randomly pick up a marker and it's going to be a permanent marker on the dry erase board. And so every time, I almost freak out every time. So this is going to be orbit. Orbit. Okay? Orbit has a very special keyboard modifier. It's going to be the Alt key. Alt key plus the left mouse button. And I'm just going to put LM as left mouse. So if you hold down your left mouse button and then hold down the Alt key, or the Option key here on a Mac, this is what you're going to get. Alt or Option, left mouse button, is going to allow you to orbit. Okay? Rotate around your scene. Okay? So that's the orbit. Yeah, pretty cool, huh? Remember, left mouse button, left mouse button. Now, as I'm looking around the classroom and I'm watching you guys orbit like crazy on your machines, I'm recognizing pretty quickly that some of your orbits look kind of odd. Let me show you a quick viewport property. Yes, sir? Remember, hold down that Option key and then left click and drag with your left mouse button. Option key. Yep, here we go. No, down here. That one right there. That's the Option key. Now, Liam has brought forward kind of a cool idea that I want to kind of remind everyone with. With this type of environment, your left hand should be on your keyboard, okay? And your right hand should be on your mouse, okay? And I normally place my left hand kind of at the bottom left-hand corner of my keyboard. That way, I call it my 3 action fingers. My thumb, my index finger, and my middle finger are sitting right there on all of those modifier keys to give me what I need. Question? No, okay. So back to the orbit. I can see that some people are orbiting kind of oddly, and it's probably because of one system-wide parameter. Now we're going to deviate just really quickly from what we were talking about so I can show you guys how to change and turn off trackball rotation. If I put my mouse cursor in the center of my OpenGL viewport and hit the O key, O as in October, I'm going to open up my viewport properties panel. And let me zoom in so we can take a closer look here. Okay, so this is our viewport properties panel. You can see that it's broken up into a whole series of vertical tabs on the right-hand side. However, if we go into the drawing and control section, we get this really cool long menu, and then towards the bottom of that pop over, we have a section here called mouse control, and this is the one that we really need to focus on initially. Okay, check it out. Inside of mouse control, we have this parameter right there. Okay, we want, see how it says trackball rotation? Whoops, I clicked off of it. Let's try it again. There it is. Yeah, mouse control, that guy right there. Trackball rotation should be set to no. If yours is set to yes, change it to no. Yes, ma'am. So go hit the O key with your mouse in the center of the OpenGL viewport. O key. O is in October. Here we go. Drawing in control. And then at the bottom, change it from default to no. Everyone do that. We want to turn trackball rotation off. Trackball rotation is kind of a nice advanced feature. It's really great if you're an animator. But for now, since we're just kind of starting, we're beginning, let's just turn it off. Just globally turn it off, and then we'll revisit its role and purpose at a much later date. Okay? Okay, back to working within our three-dimensional scene. So we know from our previous conversation that holding down the Alt key or the Option key on your keyboard in conjunction with the left mouse button is going to allow us to orbit around our scene. Pretty cool. But what about a pan? Watch very carefully here for a moment and look what my screen, oops, excuse me. I did mess up. I accidentally deleted my guy. So let me go grab my teapot again. Here it is. Okay, so check it out. We want to do this. This is called a pan. And if you look very carefully at my screen, what's going on here is that I'm moving my perspective left, right, up, and down. Okay, up and down. Left, right, up, and down. This is called a pan. And we achieve our pan by adding another player into the mix. We're going to be holding down the Alt key or the Option key on the keyboard in conjunction with the Shift key. Okay? So the pan equals Alt or Option for us here on the Mac plus the Shift key plus the left mouse button. Okay? That's going to produce the pan effect and allow you to move your camera left, right, up, and down. Everyone practice this just for 2 seconds. Teapot? Yeah. Well, hang in there. Maybe during the break I can see what we can do, okay? I know it's not the best answer, but unfortunately that's all I can do at the moment. I'm sorry, Yusra. I really am. Okay. That's awesome, James. Okay, so did everyone kind of get a mastery of the pan, moving your camera left, right, up, and down? All right. Now the final viewport navigation scheme or control that we need to add is the ability to zoom in and zoom out. Let me show you what I'm talking about. So if I hold down the Alt key in conjunction with the left mouse button, I can rotate or orbit my scene. Adding the Shift key into the mix will allow us to pan our camera left, right, up, and down. And then to zoom, we can zoom in and zoom out. Once again, we're going to add another keyboard modifier. So to zoom, it's real easy. Zoom is once again going to be the Alt key. See the common denominator here? All three of these have the Alt key on them, okay? The Alt key, or Option for us on the Mac. And then this time, we're going to add the Control key into the mix, plus the left mouse button. Okay? That's going to allow you to zoom in and zoom out. All right. Pretty cool, huh? Now, this is going to be difficult for the first couple of days while you're learning how to work with inside this application. But hang in there. Hang in there. You will get to a point where those 3 keyboard shortcuts are going to turn into muscle memory. And you'll no longer have to think about how to pan, orbit, and zoom around your scene. You'll just know how to do it. You know, it's like, Wayne Gretzky, I'm sure, just isn't even thinking about how to ice skate anymore. He just knows how to do it. He just does it, right? You'll get to that point. It'll feel, you're going to feel like a duck out of water for the first couple days while your brain learns this new kind of environment to work within, okay? So hang in there. You can do this. Okay, now that we've learned a little bit about how to orbit and work within our scene, let's explore some of the other options that we have inside this master OpenGL window. It's a viewport into our scene, but we can change how we draw or how we ask our computer to draw that scene for us, okay? And what I want you to do is I want you to just kind of focus on those 3 kind of oval-shaped buttons at the top of the screen. Where I'm going towards are these guys right there. These 3 fellers play an important role on how we ask our computer to draw our scene. Let's check it out. The first one, as you can see here, let me zoom in. There we go. The first one up here, it's default to say perspective. And while we're in the perspective view, we can orbit, pan, and zoom around in our scene. However, if we wanted to change our perspective into our 3-dimensional scene to, let's say, only see our teapot from the top, for example, this is where we'd go, okay? So if we click on that little button, a little popover list is going to show up, and it's going to give us the option, there we go, it's going to give us the option to change our view from a perspective view into what's classically defined as an orthographic view. So from like the top, or the side, or the bottom, or the back. This is how we do it. Let me show you what I'm talking about. Let's go ahead and do it real fast. If I click on the top choice up here, watch what happens to my scene. My viewport changes a little bit, and now I'm seeing my teapot, or my 3D scene, from the top. Okay? Now, if you look very carefully what's going on here, a couple things have changed. Okay? I can still pan around my scene. I can still zoom in and zoom out. But for those of you that following along, what's the one navigation control that we no longer have access to? Eli? We can't orbit, okay? We are truly viewing our 3-dimensional scene from a 2-dimensional perspective now. So we lose the ability to orbit around in our scene. So why would you think that this is pretty important? Why do we even have these orthographic viewports? How would you use them? I love it. Thomas has, I think, hit the nail right on the head to see if certain parts of the model are correct or if they're lined up correctly. If we often jump into these orthographic viewports to line things up with each other with some accuracy. It gives us a new perspective into our scene to aid in the modeling process. So they really are invaluable workspaces for us to create and edit our models. You're going to be jumping into these quite often. So get used to going up to that button in the upper left-hand corner of the screen and choosing the varying perspectives in Modo. So here's from the right. We can see our scene from the front. There we go. And we're on our way. Now the second option, or the second oval-shaped button inside of our application, and I'm talking about that one right there. Okay, the second one basically allows us to change how our computer is going to draw the images in our perspective viewport. Let me change my view to perspective here, so we can see our teapot. And now I'm going to go into the second button. The default should be Advanced OpenGL, but whomever was using this computer before you, like yesterday, my game art class, may have changed the setting to something else. Advanced OpenGL is the best in my opinion. It allows us to get a real-time preview of how the lights are going to work, the textures, the materials. However, it's not the only way that we can ask Modo to draw our scene. If we go in and take a look-see here, we have a couple options. We can see our scene from a wireframe perspective. And there we go. There's my little teapot now. Okay, pretty cool. Pretty cool. Instead of shading each individual surface, the only thing that the computer is asking to draw are all the wireframe cages, rock and roll, okay? Why would you think this is cool? Why would we even do this? Yeah?
I think to get a better manipulation of my fiber details as parts inside.
Absolutely. It gives us accuracy. It allows us to control our models on a vertex basis. Especially, this is really important, especially when you're working with very detailed meshes, okay? And especially scenes that have millions upon millions of polygons within them, okay? This gives you a performance increase quite significantly, because now the computer's not trying to shade in between each one of these polygons, okay? It's just giving us the outline. Very simple, processor light way of drawing our scene. I love working inside a wireframe. Okay, check it out. So we also have a couple other options in here. We have solid. Now, I don't use solid all that option because I have a hard time kind of understanding the workflow within solid. But there are some rock stars in here. For the majority of what we're going to be doing, we're going to be doing advanced OpenGL, but the ones below advanced OpenGL kind of give you a different flavor, if you will. Let's check it out. We have ghost tone. Ghost tone is kind of fun. Now our model is going to turn kind of this cool blue and this cool kind of yellowy green. Some people really like working inside the ghost tone viewport shading option. That's cool. Okay. I think it's pretty rad. It definitely has its purpose. Whenever I do some hard surface modeling, like automotive modeling, for example, I almost always work at times with the reflection shading parameter turned on. This allows me to see instantly how metallic objects are going to be interacting with the light sources in the final render. It allows me to very quickly understand how the topology that I've created is going to be eventually rendered at the output. You can also see that a couple of you guys are exploring the tune or the cell shaded model. That's pretty cool too. It's kind of neat seeing how your model is going to look when it's cell shaded. Check it out. There we go. Kind of neat. Pretty cool, huh? Okay. So these are the ways that we can change how the computer is going to draw our scene. For, I'd say, like 99% of what we're going to be doing in this class, you're going to find me hanging out on this advanced OpenGL system. Okay? I think it's the best way to see both the surfaces, the wireframes, and the vertices on your mesh. So look to use this going forward in this class. But that's not to say that you can't use the others. Okay? If it works for your brain, do it. If it's easier for your brain to consume your model in wireframe mode, do it. If it's easier for your brain to understand the form and the volume of whatever it is that we're creating while we're in, like, I don't know, ghost tone, do it. Okay? If it's easier for your brain, do it. Okay? You don't necessarily have to follow along with what I'm doing. Because every single one of us in here is going to be interpreting these little puzzles and problems differently. Okay. The final button in that row, in the upper left-hand corner of our OpenGL viewport, is a new one. This one showed up in 601. It's pretty cool. And it's called RayGL. And this is a fantastic new architecture inside of Modo that allows us to almost instantly get a real-time preview of how our model is going to look at render time. Now, so you can turn it on. It's a with just our little teapot in here. It's a very, very basic kind of example of RayGL. You have two options, full and fast. Full is going to fire off a kind of almost a full preview render right here in our perspective window of how the render is going to look. This is fantastic. Okay, this is truly special. Not every app has this. Okay, this is really, really handy when you're working with large scenes. Let me show you what I'm talking about because it's kind of hard to illustrate the power and the awesomeness of RayGL when we're working with a teapot. Not exactly the most, compelling 3D model on the face of the planet. So let me show you one of my production models that I've been working on. I'm going to turn RayGL off, and let me open up my train. I showed you guys my train, right? Let me show you my train. Let me show you the model. I think I showed you this last week, and I apologize if I hadn't. So here's my train. It's a pretty detailed mesh, okay? There's a lot going on in my train, okay? It's a high-resolution piece of artwork. I'm very proud of the final result. Let me turn off a couple things here and ignore what I'm doing. Here we go. Okay, so right now there are so many parts and pieces to this train that really the only way that I can see how the train looks completely shaded is with RayGL, okay? Right now, it's in wireframe mode, and I can very quickly navigate around my scene, but RayGL is going to give me almost a real-time preview, it's kind of crazy actually, of what this train is going to look like in the final render. So let me turn it on real fast. Go to full. It'll take a second to calculate all the geometry and start understanding the lighting setup, but here we go. Now you can start to see that the Modo rendering engine is giving me a real-time preview of what this bad boy is going to look like if I was to hit the render button right now. Let's make it even better by turning off all my wireframes. Because right now it definitely doesn't look awesome. Go. There we go. And let's turn on my shadow catcher, my rails, and my railroad ties. That way we get a better understanding of what this thing is going to look like. Okay? This is why RayGL is really important for us in the Modo universe, is that we can take complex scenes like this train model and be able to get a very, very almost instant understanding of how this complex scene is going to look when we hit the render button. It's an invaluable feature for me. I really, really enjoy with RayGL. As you can see, it's constantly, especially when I'm doing details, to instantly see how those details are going to affect the final image. One of the cool things about RayGL is that it turns off, the RayGL engine is turned off when I start orbiting around my scene. You can see that almost everything gets turned off, and then, like let's say maybe I wanted to go check out the wheels or something. And then when I mouse up, it fires off a render, okay? And the second time it does a full kind of evaluation of your scene, it's much faster because it's already cached all of that vertex information on the back end. So this becomes a really, really fast way of getting a good understanding of what your scene is going to look like when you hit the render button without having to commit to a full-blown render. Because you're going to see here momentarily at the end of today's discussion how long it can take to render a scene. And actually, I'm not doing the Modo renderer any justice. We're working with like the fastest rendering engine on the block. Okay, I have thrown this model into Maya, and Maya goes crash. I mean, it tries real hard to render this, and then it just crashes because it can't. Okay, the default Modo renderer is redonkulous. It's awesome. I love it. It's the best renderer I've ever worked with. Okay. So here's a great example of what the full RayGL is going to do into our scene. It's going to give us the backdrop, the environment, all the shadows, the global illumination. I don't have my textures turned on at the moment, but if I did, we'd see all the textures on the train. I mean, it would look badass, right? But at times, you don't necessarily need that. You don't necessarily need the thing. What you need is just a fast preview of the scene. Options here. Full is going to do a full-blown render inside your OpenGL viewport, and then the fast option is just basically going to smooth shade all your elements and give you a good understanding of how the direct light sources in your scene are going to affect your model. This, as you would imagine, this doesn't take nearly as much effort for the computer to evaluate, and the performance inside of our scene is pretty good. Okay, I'm going to turn this back to off. There we go. There's my scene. Haha. Okay. Excuse me. All right, let's go back into our teapot and start exploring some of the other parts of our three-dimensional universe here. So, let's talk about the grid. And I want to turn my wireframes back on. Wireframe, color, back to colored. Fantastic. So there's my little mesh. Let's talk about the other things that we're seeing inside this OpenGL viewport. Obviously, we have our models, but what about all those fancy grid squares that we're seeing in the background? What about that light gray grid that's kind of cutting through the background of my mesh? Those are critically important elements inside of all the Modo OpenGL viewports because they remind us of the axes that we're going to be modeling our objects along. Now, if you remember the course title for this bad boy, this is a course all about 3D modeling and rigging, right? So this is 3D, 3 dimensions. Which 3 dimensions are we going to be rocking and rolling through? X, Y, and what's the third one? Z. That's the new one, right? If you've taken a 10th grade geometry class, you're probably masters at plotting points along 2 of the 3, right? You've been doing this for a while if you passed geometry, and I know you all have because you're here in college, okay? You have plotted points in 2 dimensions in 10th grade geometry, or whenever you took your geometry class, okay? we're basically going to be doing the exact same thing, except we're going to be plotting points along 3 axes. Now, for those of you, let's pretend that you have gone home and you are talking to someone in your family or someone in your life that has no idea anything about grids and axes and 3D, whatever. How would you describe to them the x-axis? Which direction are we moving along when we plot things along the x-axis? Yeah, horizontal, left and right, okay? So I'll just put L and R for left and right, okay? So if the x-axis is horizontal, what's the y-axis represent? Vertical, you got it. So this is kind of like up and down. But what in the world is that z-axis all about? Say again?
Front and back.
Front and back, or forwards and backwards, okay? So the z is all about depth. It is. It's all about depth. And this is really going to be, I'll put F for forwards and B as in Bravo for backwards, okay? So if you think about it, this is the x-axis, going left to right. Y-axis is going up and down, okay? And then the z-axis is that we're moving things forwards and backwards, okay? Huh?
Kind of like the skeleton dance from Disney.
Kind of like the skeleton? Yeah, I know. I do really bad hokey dances. It's my x-axis dance. Okay, that's my y-axis dance. Woo! No. I won't do my z-axis dance. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I'm glad I'm not live streaming, the classroom, because I'm glad that part didn't show up to, all of YouTube. The 3 billion people that watch YouTube just missed that moment. Okay. So our grids here in Modo remind us of the location and the orientation of all 3 of those axes. And let's take a look at them real fast. Now, right now, it's kind of difficult to see the grids in the OpenGL viewport, but they're there. Trust me, if you look very closely on your monitor, you can see these little black lines. Okay, actually, they're kind of a dark gray. These little dark gray lines represent the grid. Okay, and this grid is important. Let me zoom out a little bit and start showing you guys some of the component parts of that grid. Okay, so I've zoomed out a little bit, and I'm going to do one additional thing. I'm going to change the way my viewport's being drawn just to make it a little bit easier for you guys to see the grid. You don't necessarily have to do this, but I'm just going to do it temporarily. The guys down at Luxology have given us a cool kind of gradient in the background of our environment. And if you look carefully, kind of like up here where it's all light, what does that remind you guys of? The sky, right? That's kind of up. The lighter areas in our universe is positive y, and then the darker areas down below, that's kind of a nice visual reminder of the ground. So the negative axis of our y. I want to turn that grid off. Let me do it real fast. There we go. Now we can see our grid squares on my screen a little bit easier. Okay. All right. So if you look very carefully on my screen right now, you can kind of see some black lines running down the center of our grid. And my projector is kind of messing it up a little bit, so let me help you guys out. Well, I'm talking, oops, that's the wrong shape. Still the wrong shape. There's my line. Okay, so I got a line going that way, and then a line going that way. Okay. Now, what do you think those black lines on my screen represent? You got it. You got it. Those are the indicators of the x and the z axes. We don't get a dark black line for the y-axis, and I'll show you why here in a moment. Okay. So we're always going to get a nice subtle reminder of the location of the x and the z axis. Now, if you look closely at my screen, I'm going to turn off my teapot just momentarily. You can see that, oops. Oh, wait, hold on a sec. There we go. You can see that those 2 lines intersect right in the center of of my screen. Does anyone know what the name of that intersection is called? Think back to 10th grade geometry. The origin. You're absolutely right. The origin plays a critically important role in everything that we do. And if you look very, very carefully, what I'm talking about is that we got, it's going that way, it's going that way, and then boom, right there at the intersection of all four of those lines, we have something that's really important, and it's called the origin, okay? The origin is the center of our universe. If we were plotting points on a true Cartesian two-dimensional grid, what numbers would the origin represent? 0, 0. Yes, good. You guys passed geometry. Excellent. All right. This is, in many ways, 0, 0, and we're working in 3 axes, right? So it's 0. You got it. 0, 0, 0. The origin. This is the center of the universe, okay? This is the sun to our solar system. Everything revolves around the origin. It really is the most important element inside of our world, okay? Our 3D animation industry is quite large. We have a lot of players, a lot of applications that are working with each other inside of our pipeline. I'm historically very jealous of my colleagues in the graphic communications department because they have one app. They have Photoshop, and everyone in the graphic design industry works on Photoshop or Illustrator, okay? But that's it. That's it. There's nothing else, okay? Us in the 3D world, we have an entire spectrum of apps that you're going to find that people are going to use. We have, of course, Modo, Lightwave, Maya, Max, Cinema 4D, Houdini, ZBrush, Mudbox, Topogun, UV, Hedis UV. Motion Builder. There are a dozen different applications out there that we use in a given production. The origin is the one common denominator between all of those 3D modeling and animation packages, okay? Every package understands the origin. Every package has a true center of the universe, okay? So what does this origin become for us? This is, and Kellen's got it. It's Kellen, right? Yeah, I got it right this time. Kellen's got it. This is where we have to build everything, because this is the one place that all of these applications know and all of these applications understand. If I build my model at the origin of the scene, I can guarantee someone who's working in Maya, because often as 3D modelers, we hand our project file to an animator, right, so they can make it move. I'm really good at building things. I hand it to someone else who's really good at making it move, right? Well, where's that animator going to look for my project file? At the origin, okay? If everything's at the origin, we're all working off the same sheet of music. We're all playing the same song, okay? The moment we start modeling things away from the origin is the moment we have a lot of problems within our workflow. In addition, Modo loves the origin. Since it knows that it's the most important part within our three-dimensional space, all of the tools inside of Modo work better and more efficiently and have some really cool power features if our objects are centered around the origin of the scene. So it's a critical component for us in the 3D modeling workflow. Okay? Something that I'm going to be jumping up and down a lot about over the course of this semester. I'm kind of an old school modeler. I've been doing this professionally for about 15 years. Okay? So I truly believe that if you're not modeling at the origin of the scene, you are modeling wrong. Okay? That's it. You're doing it wrong. Okay? There are many ways to make a model of a teapot. But if it's not at the origin of the scene, you have done something wrong, okay? So it's an important part of our environment. Questions on the origin? Okay, cool. Now, the Modo grid is kind of cool, right? It's kind of cool. It's always kind of the exact same size, okay? It never gets bigger or smaller. However, it can be confusing at times to understand the orientations, the directions of all of our axes within our three-dimensional universe. Because if I'm rotating around and going crazy here, it's really difficult for me to understand which way's up, okay? Where's positive Z? Where's the front of our scene? Where's the left part of our scene? Huh? Bottom left-hand corner. You got it. The compass in the bottom left-hand corner of our scene, this guy, is going to be the reminder for us. This compass, let me zoom in. We can take a look-see at it, okay? This compass plays a big role, okay? Because this compass reminds us of the orientation of all of our axes. Now look very carefully. The compass is made up of 3 important elements. We have 3 lines, right? We have a red line, a green line, and a blue line. Now our 3D industry has standardized around very few things. We've standardized around the origin. All apps know the origin. We've also standardized around these 3 colors. In every application on the face of the planet, red always signifies X. Green is always Y, and blue is always Z. So remember those colors. You're going to see those colors a lot within our modeling workspace. If you look at the way these lines are created, they start at the center, at the kind of the origin of this little compass, and each one of these lines kind of goes out. At the end of each one of those lines is a letter that represents the axes for that line. But that letter plays a much more important role. That letter tells us which direction inside of our scene the positive values for that axis are, okay? So I know beyond any reasonable doubt that the current way that I've rotated my scene is telling me that positive Y is facing that way, up. So they're kind of like little arrows. They remind us which direction we're going in. So that's X. The positive values for Y are going that way. The positive values for Z are going that way. This is an important tool because as we orbit around the scene, that little compass is now changing, okay? Now, which direction is Y? Yeah, it's kind of, actually, to be honest with you, it's kind of the same way. It's kind of going up now, okay? And the positive values of Y are up, okay? So if your model is facing the wrong way and I come over to you and say, hey, rotate your model so that it's up, you need to have your shape rotated so that it's pointed in the same orientation as the positive Y, okay? So X has now changed, Z has now changed, okay? Here's the ones that I kind of focus on whenever I'm teaching, okay? Positive Y, so Y plus equals up, in kind of everyday terms. Okay, Z plus equals forward. So positive Z is kind of like the front of our scene. If I was modeling a character, we always want to make sure that our characters are facing the positive Z-axis, okay? So if I'm modeling a character, he's standing there at the T-pose, which direction is the nose of my character facing? It needs to face frontwards. So which direction within our three-dimensional space is he or she facing? Yeah, positive Z, positive Z. I want the top of my head of my three-dimensional character to be facing up. Which direction within our three-dimensional scene should our head be facing? Positive Y, okay? Modo takes it one step forward, and they give us small, subtle little reminders of these orientations on the grid itself. So let me zoom out, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Okay, now it's kind of difficult to see. It will be easier to see on your own personal machine, but check it out. I'm going to make it bigger so you guys can see what's up. Along the grid, if you look very, very carefully on the outside area of the grid, the guys down at Luxology have placed a nice little indicator as to the direction of that axis. So we get a little negative Z over here. So I know that right now, the way I've rotated my camera around a three-dimensional scene, this over here is, all of this stuff in here is the back of my scene. There's a couple more if we look carefully over to this side of my grid. Yep, there's a negative X. And if I was to orbit my scene a little bit more, let's see. Yeah, it looks like the positive X is being hidden. Yep, there it is over there, though. Okay, so there's positive X right there. And if I was to orbit my scene more, you can see that positive Z is right there. Okay? Nice, subtle reminders as to the orientation of our scene. if you're using the gradient in the background, remember, the lighter areas of that gradient represent positive y. It's kind of like the sky. And the darker areas within that gradient represent negative y. So the ground. So that's a nice kind of, again, visual reinforcer of what we're addressing. All right, questions, comments so far? Okay, so let me turn my teapot on real fast. Okay, let me give you a tour of the rest of the interface. I know we spent a lot of time talking about that OpenGL viewport here in the center, but that's actually, just part 2 of a 4-part interface. Yes, sir.
What does control spacebar do?
Control spacebar. That's a great question. Control spacebar is going to bring up what's called a hotbox, okay, or a marking menu. It allows you, it's a little pie menu here, right? It allows you to interactively select which portion or which perspective inside your 3D scene that you want to look at. So it's kind of an alternative to clicking on this little oval-shaped button in the upper left-hand corner. I kind of like it. You'll see me doing this a lot because it doesn't require moving the mouse away from where I'm working. I can just hold down Control spacebar, get my little pie menu. Wherever my mouse cursor is on, while I button up, is the view I go into. Okay, so it's not going to change your view until you button up, and then you're on your way. Yeah.
And the little orange dot in the window by the camera, or on yours it says.
So what he's talking about, what he's going for, is that guy right there. Yeah, that guy. That little orange dot is going to allow you to detach this OpenGL viewport into its own floating menu, or you can divide it into 4 or 8 different separate viewports. It allows you to change your interface to do whatever it is that you want it to do.
Yeah, I did that on next.
Yeah, so if you want to get it back, if you want to kind of restore your setup,
Yeah, I got it back.
you got it back? Okay. Well, for everyone else that wants to, if you accidentally feel as though you've messed up the interface, check it out. Go to the top of the screen where it says Layout, and then there's a Restore. Okay? And then if you click on it, just hit OK, and you're on your way. Okay? It's going to put the interface back to its kind of factory defaults. All right? Okay. So back to the interface real fast. Okay. So over here, of course, we got what are you going to find on this part of the interface? Tools, right? Those are tools. What's this thing called? All of this. What's that? Your viewport, right? This is where we're going to be doing 90% of our work. This is the window into our three-dimensional scene where we're going to be manipulating our three-dimensional models. Which brings us to the right portion of the screen. And I kind of, in my mind, this is like a utility area. This is where we're going to be getting a lot of information. And what I'm talking about is this area, okay? This is where we're going to be getting a lot of information, all of this stuff, okay, about specific items and objects within our three-dimensional scene. It's broken up, we're going to go into this area a lot, but just for today, I want you to notice the item list, which is on the top. It's kind of like your layers palette over in Photoshop. If you look very carefully, in the item list, and where I'm talking about is this tab right here. The item list has a whole bunch of really cool objects in here, okay? Each one of these objects plays their own special role. We're going to have an entire conversation about working with items, but just know that this is where you get to access those items and get to their properties. If I was to left-click on my mesh item, for example, the bottom part of this interface is going to come to life, and it's going to show me, boom, there we go, it's going to show me all of my options down below. So these are all, oops, excuse me, these are all options. These are all properties that define this mesh object, mesh item, excuse me. Okay? List upstairs, properties values for those list items downstairs. All right? So that's the third part of our interface. The fourth part of our interface is actually what I kind of, this is, you know, if you talk to different people within the Modo sphere, they're going to probably have different ideas of what this is. But the top, the last part of the interface is the top part. Okay, and specifically what I'm talking about are all of these tabs. Okay, we need to pay really close attention to these tabs because these tabs are basically going to allow us to go to different areas within inside the Modo application to gain entry into additional workflows. And if you look at the name of all of these tabs, they kind of give you a really great understanding and idea of what you're going to be doing in those tabs. Let me show you what I'm talking about. So we've been in the Model tab. So what do you think you're going to do in the Model tab? Yeah, you're going to be doing some 3D modeling, right? This is where we're going to be building stuff for the most part, okay? Now, if you come from another application, this environment might seem a little bit more comfortable to you. We've been working in this kind of quad view for a long, long time, since the 80s. You're never going to find me working in Mod Quad. There's some tools inside of Modo that have made the Mod Quad kind of irrelevant. It's really not important anymore. But if this is comfortable for you, I say do it. It's there. Use it. The Paint tab is kind of fun. The Paint tab allows us to interactively paint on our objects. So it's kind of like ZBrush or Mudbox, where we have a little digital paintbrush, and we can paint right on the surface, which is kind of fun. We'll explore that a little bit later. It also is home to all of our sculpting tools, and the sculpting stuff inside of Modo is pretty rad. Let me show you what I'm talking about. I'm just going to very quickly do some stuff here, and just ignore what I'm doing for the time being. Okay, the sculpting tools are pretty cool because it allows us to very quickly go in and add a tremendous amount of organic detail using a method and a modality that's comfortable for us. There's a lot of folks in here, we just want to paint with our little Wacom tablets, myself included. I just want to, and Modo's going to crash on me. I may have asked it to do too much. Nope, it's back. Excellent. So check it out. I can very quickly go in, and this is what happens when you try to stream a live YouTube video and do some pretty crazy sculpting work at the exact same time. The performance on this is way better than what you're getting at the moment. It's I got about 12 million polygons now on my little teapot, but we go in. More on as fast as I go. Paint with him simultaneously. That's on my laptop, you know, which is probably a big idea to begin with. My mouse cursor. There it is, maybe. Where did my mouse cursor go? Hello? Oh, it really didn't like that. Let's leave. Let's leave now. The top tab is going to allow us to do to cover it all in this class. It really, I mean, if you want to know more about retopologizing, come find me in GCOM 410. We'll talk a little bit about it. It's really an environment workflow that's dedicated to uber high resolution models. Okay, for example, we just got a 3D scanner here at the school, right? It's very, very cool. But what we get at the output for that 3D scanner is going to be a model that's got like 12 million polygons on it. Well, you really can't do anything with 12 million polygons, okay? You really can't animate it, so the retopologizing tab allows us to work a little bit more organically and to reconstruct and create the objects. Okay? And Modo just completely crashed on me. The UV tab allows us to create UV islands and UV maps for all of our 3D models. More on that in GCOM 424. We'll talk a little UV mapping here in GCOM 402. Just a little idiot about it when we get to our cell phone project and our martini glass. Okay. Oh, here we go. Now maybe it's deciding it's one to work. So here's the UV tab. To delete. It's clearly over my. Keep cruising down that list of tab layout, which to take construct. Week 14, 15 in this class. What do you think? What do you think? allows the artist to focus on one thing, okay? 3D just if it. So when I go to the Animate tab, all of these 3D modeling stuff is going to be replaced with animation tools, and then upstairs. Certainly not least is the Render tab. We're going to talk a little bit more about this later at the end of the class. This is a computer to physically draw an image until the render have 3D exists inside of Modo. If we want to share our work with the larger community, we have to render it. We have to basically make tab is able to do. Questions on the basics of the Modo interface. Take a break. 2 seconds. Hold on 2 seconds. I need to crash. This is going to crash. I'm just going to force my Modo. Short 10-minute break, okay? Yeah, what's up?
Could I get a little help starting the assignment for myself?
Well, we haven't even started the assignment yet, so don't worry about it. We'll get to that as
Okay, should I design this? It's my senior project proposal, and I'm gonna have you, my mentor, sign what needs.
okay. Say again? What do you think is due today? Yeah.
Yeah.
That is due week 3.
I
Yeah.
was wondering why Nick was giving me. I was
Yeah.
like, he had this fat grin. It's like,
Yeah. No. Okay. Alrighty. Can someone do me a favor? And this is just purely for vanity's sake. If you're in front of a machine and you have an internet browser just open, like Dylan, you have an internet browser open, can you go to www.youtube.com? And all of you guys can do this because I'm just really kind of curious to see how my live stream's going. I want to watch my own live stream. Is that kind of vain or what? I just want to see if... watch my live stream while I'm live streaming. So it's just on YouTube, and the address is www.youtube.com/user/Pat Cran, PATCRAN, as in November. And I'm just... Let's see what... Okay, oh, here we go. So Katrina's got it. GCOM 402. I'm live on the internet, baby! Yeah! Woo! Okay. Yes! Yes, that's awesome! Oh, that's just like, I'm like geeking out over this. This is great. Okay, let's get back to work, shall we? We've got a couple things that we gotta continue to address. So, okay. So I've restarted Modo. Looks like all my performance issues that I was experiencing before the break have been resolved with a simple restart. And I want to talk, we've been talking about how to work inside of a 3D viewport. Still, like, I have no idea what to do. So what's it say? So let's hit. Yeah, and then it just restarts. I have no idea. I really don't. I'd have to sit down. I'd have to sit down. Oh, James is going to help you out. Okay, he's going to jump on your. You're going to jump on your laptop, and you can use your machine.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Let's.
Wait, what? I don't have this on my laptop.
Oh,
That's
that's a problem.
I could get it on my laptop though.
Let's just hang out for the day. Okay. I know that's not the best answer. It really isn't. But I need to sit down with that machine and figure out what in the world's going on. And I'm going to go out on a limb and guess that I probably have to involve our computer services professionals and fix the machine. When it comes to IT support, here are you guys on like the ladder, okay, of the school, which is unfortunately like the bottom rung of the ladder. I'm like one rung above you guys. They give me no privileges whatsoever to fix machines on campus, so it's a little bit difficult for me to troubleshoot problems as they come up. Okay, so I apologize. I will work hard to resolve this issue over the next couple days, okay? So next week, this shouldn't be an issue. All right? So we've been working a lot inside the interface. Physically get in and do something, right? Because we haven't really done anything yet, right? We haven't actually moved or rotated or kind of... Thank you, James. We actually haven't moved or rotated or done anything to our little teapot yet, so let's jump in and do it, okay? So the first thing that we got to talk about is how to select stuff, okay? Because Modo works off of a very big, important, kind of big concept. And here it is, and as simple of a term as a phrase that I possibly can come up with, okay? Modo takes a lot of inspiration from Photoshop. Has anyone in here used Photoshop before? I'm a Photoshop super user. Almost everyone. Great, this is perfect. Actually, that's a huge, huge help, okay? Because Modo, in many ways, acts and behaves just like Photoshop. Okay? The big idea that you just need to kind of commit to memory. Whatever is selected in Modo is going to be edited, right? Just like Photoshop. If you make a selection in Photoshop, just the pixels on the interior of that selection are going to be changed. We're doing the exact same thing here in Modo. So whatever we select is going to be changed, is going to be edited. If nothing is selected, everything gets changed, and everything gets edited, okay? Just like Photoshop, okay? Let's see this in action. Here's my little teapot. I need to go in and start selecting some of our 3D components, okay? The first thing that we have to do is change our selection set. There are 3 basic building blocks inside of all 3D applications that we need to know about, okay? They're pretty easy to remember. There's some nice visual reinforcers at the top of the screen that remind us of these 3 building blocks. They're the basic 3D components. It's the basic building blocks in all 3D packages. We have vertices, verts, edges, and then polygons, okay? The basic building blocks of all 3D models. And we need to select each one of these 3D components separately from the others, okay? So let's go back to like 10th grade geometry yet again, because I know you guys did this in 10th grade geometry. A vertice is a pretty simple element. How would you describe a vert? Does anyone know what a vert is? How would you describe it? It's just a point, just a dot in space. By itself is meaningless. It has no real value, except if you're doing like particles and effects works, okay? But for us on the modeling side, single verts are a big problem. We don't like having floating vertices within inside of our three-dimensional scene. I want to change my viewport here real quickly, just to kind of show what those vertices look like. There we go. See all those little black dots across the surface of my model? Those black dots are vertices. They're vertexes. So one vert by itself is meaningless. It doesn't really have any importance inside of our three-dimensional scene. However, when we connect two vertices together, what do we get? A line. And in the 3D world, we call this line an edge. And if I zoom in, let's take a look here. I'm also going to, I'm just going to change some parameters here. I'm going to make my vertices really big so you guys can see them. There you go. Is that easier for you to see the vertices on the screen? Yeah, okay. So there's a vert, that's a vert right there, that's a vert right there. You connect that vertice, if you connect that one to that one, what you get is an edge. Boom. That in the center. So one vert by itself is a dot in space. You connect two of them together, you get an edge. You connect three vertices together, what do you get? Yeah, our first surface, a polygon. Okay? And if you look very carefully at the top of your teapot, we have a whole series of polygons that are just chilling at the top. Okay? Let's count the verts for some of these surfaces in here. So we have 1, we connect it, 2, we connect another vertex into the mix, 3, and what do we get? Triangle. Okay? The triangle is the most simple surface that we have access in the 3D modeling industry. Okay? But it's not the only surface type that we have. If we add in a fourth polygon, or a fourth vertex, we get what's called the quad polygon. Quad meaning 4. And pretty much the rest of our model is entirely constructed by these quad polygons. So here's 1, 2, 3, 4. What we get is a quad polygon. We like the quad polygons. We really do. It's our favorite surface type in all 3D modeling applications. Does anyone want to know why? Does anyone have an idea why we like quads? Anyone? Take a stab at it. Hit me.
They can make a lot of different types of things, and they're cheap to process.
I love it. I love it. You hit the nail right on the head. They're very flexible. They give us the most control inside of our 3D modeling pipeline. They allow us to create a lot of things, okay? They're also relatively inexpensive to render. It doesn't take a lot of processing power to draw this shape, okay? We love quad polygons. I mentioned earlier that our 3D industry is standardized around very few things. The origin's one, the color of the X, Y, and Z axis is another. Quad polygons is another thing that we standardize around. All 3D modeling applications know and understand quad polygons. Not the same or not the case with other surface types like n-gons. An n-gon is a new surface type that's only popped up in maybe the last 5 or 6 years, and it's pretty new. N being coming from the the algebra world, the n-gon. N meaning you can replace that with any number. Okay. Really, what this boils down to is the surface that has more than 4 polygons. Okay. We know, like the n-gons, we work very hard to remove all of those n-gons from the mix. Okay. Woo! Just ran into the trash can and spilled a soda. Awesome. Okay, now I got to clean that up. Let me give you a topic while I clean up the mess that I just made. Someone did something very bad. This is clearly someone it was not in my class, because we all know that what this is bad, right? This is very bad. It's just a soda can. In seltzer water. Come on, really? Who's drinking seltzer water? Okay. So we don't like n-gons. N-gons really aren't what we're all about. Quad polygons are the best. If you go on to GCOM 424 and start exploring the art of creating games, or creating the process of creating artwork for games, really, there's no paper towels in here anymore? Well, that's depressing. You're going to quickly find that all game engines insist on having their surfaces be constructed out of triangles. Question? No, yeah. Quad polygons, if you think about it and look critically at what we have here, a quad polygon can be instantly transformed into a triangle. How? We could. That's a way of doing that, but we kind of destroy the topology of the mesh. So that's like last case scenario type thing. Mr. Button.
You just draw a line.
Yeah, you just draw a new line diagonally across the square, right? And now we have two triangles. So it really does become the most universal surface type on the face of the planet. Please excuse me for a moment while I go get a paper towel. Okay, I'm back. All right, clean up the mess I made. The guys on YouTube are probably really curious and wondering what's going on. Maybe I should give like a play-by-play like they do on football. Would that be good for the YouTube guys since they can't see the epic mess I made? Yeah, right now Pat Cranley is cleaning up the floor. There is seltzer water all over the floor because some student did not listen to him. And he or she brought in a can of seltzer water. Not cool.
Ladies and gentlemen, we call that courtesy.
Maybe Mr. Pryor should be the play-by-play guy and not me, because he clearly has all the catchy phrases. All right. So surfaces. Those are the three building blocks that we're going to be working with inside of all 3D modeling applications. Vertices, edges, and polygons. So get used to seeing them. But how do we manipulate them? How do we physically change the selection set in Modo to go in and grab them, move them around, and do something with them? Well, the key to that kingdom is at the top of the screen. If you look very, very carefully, we have 3 buttons at the top of the screen. What I'm talking about is that guy, and that guy. Those 3 buttons allow us to change the selection set. FYI, if you're a keyboard shortcut person, it's 1, 2, and 3. Pressing 1, 2, or 3 will change the selection set. 1 is vertices, 2 is edges, 3 is polygons. Okay? You're also not limited to going in and pressing the button. So if you like this, you can press the buttons up here. So if I go into vert mode, I can select some vertices. And I'm just holding down my left mouse button and clicking over that vert. Let me show you the basic selection system here. Just with polygons. It's a little bit easier to see with polygons, okay? I'm in my polygonal selection set, so whenever I roll over a polygon, check it out. I'm getting this cool like rollover highlight. What's that telling me? Yeah, Mr. Pryor's got it right. If I was to left click right now, that would be the polygon that would add to my selection. Okay, so if I left click, bam, I got it selected. What color does it change to? Orange. Remember this color. Orange is an important color inside of the Modo ecosystem, okay? A lot of things are going to be orange, so remember that. So orange is an important color. So the left mouse button will allow you to select a vertice, edge, or polygon. Now, if I wanted to deselect that polygon, I need to click in the empty part of the Modo OpenGL viewport. So check it out. I want to put my mouse cursor way back over here and simply left click. Okay? Notice that that selection has now been changed or dropped. So I click in the empty part of the viewport, drops the selection. Okay. All right. At the core, Modo has a really, really neat selection system. By default, they've enabled what's called a paintbrush selection system, meaning that if you were to left click and drag across the surface of your mesh, Anywhere your mouse rolls onto, or any polygon that your mouse rolls over, is automatically going to be selected. Let me show you what I'm talking about. I'm hovering over this, this polygon in my scene. So if I was to left click, I would select it. But if I was to left click and drag, check it out. I'm painting a selection. And anywhere my mouse goes, I select that 3D component, in my case a polygon. Okay? This works for all of the 3D components. So if you're in edge mode or vert mode, and you're selecting those types of components, this paint selection system is also at play. Okay? But what if I don't want all of those polygons? What if I want maybe just like the bottom row of polygons? How do I subtract polygons or components from my selection? Now, a lot of you raised your hand, they have some Photoshop experience. How do you subtract pixels from your selection? Mr. Pearson? Control, absolutely. If you hold down the control key, you're going to subtract polygons from your selection. So holding down the control key now, and I'm left clicking and dragging across the surface of my mesh. And you can see that I'm deselecting those polygons. This also works with single left clicks, so I can like just left click there and interactively select which ones I don't want to include in my initial selection. So what's the inverse of this? If control is subtract, what's add? Shift. If we hold down the shift key while selecting polygons, we'll add those polygons to our selection. So I'm holding down the shift key now, and I've added those into the mix. Okay? Left mouse button selects something. Clicking in the empty part of the UI, of the Modo viewport, will deselect your 3D component. Control key subtracts. Shift key adds components to your selection. However, I have kind of a large teapot here. There's a lot going on. Let me turn off my verts. We don't need them anymore. Okay? There's a lot going on. What if I wanted to select the entirety of my teapot? Has anyone stumbled upon this yet? Say again? Not items. We're not going to deal with items yet. Double click. Double click. If you were to double click on the surface of your teapot, watch what happens. Let me double click. Boom, boom. Check it out. All of the contiguous polygons are selected. Yes, sir. Bingo. You got it. So he was saying if I was to hold down the shift key and double click on the handle and the spout, would it also select those? The answer is yeah. Absolutely. Okay. Now, the spout and the handle are currently not welded, if you will, to the body of the teapot, which is why they weren't all selected when I double-clicked on the surface of the mesh. Okay, you'll see this a lot. This is legit. This is fine. You can absolutely do this. All right. Okay, so if I hold down the shift key, double-click, rock and roll, I can select the spout. Same thing for the handle, and I'm on my way. So what can we do with selections? Well, thus enter the role and the purpose of our transform tools. Now that we know a little bit about selecting stuff inside of Modo, let's do something. I want to move my teapot around my scene. I want to rotate it. I want to scale it. I want to add new loops and new geometry and just have some general fun with my little teapot. So let's talk about the basic transform tools. The basic transform tools in any 3D modeling application are going to allow you to do 3 important functions. And these 3 functions, you're going to be doing a lot. So get used to visiting these items in the interface. Over here in our basic toolbar, let's check it out. What is going on here? Now it's catching up with me. Okay, so over here in your basic toolbar, we have this row. Now, for the time being, I want you just to kind of forget about this one. Don't worry about this one, just forget it's there. Okay. What I want you to focus on are items 2 through 4 in that row. The first one is going to be the move tool. The move tool is going to allow us to basically change the location of our object within the scene. It would. You have the ability to move your object away from the origin. You're absolutely right. Let me show you what Yusra and I are talking about here. Let me zoom out. Now, I don't have anything selected. And let me turn my grid back on so you guys can see what's going on. And at times, you'll need to move things away from the origin, okay? Especially when you're working in complex scenes. The model of my 3D train that I showed you guys earlier is a perfect example of that. So let me grab the Move tool and check it out. The keyboard shortcut for the Move tool is W. Modo gives you some really nice visual reminders that a tool is active. Now look very, very carefully at the Modo interface here just for a moment, okay? Because Modo is telling us some important information. Modo is telling us that a tool is now active. Now all of you guys got here to school one way or another, but some of us drove to work today or drove to school today. I drove my truck down here today, okay? When I jumped in my car, the first thing I did to activate my car, which is kind of like a tool, is turn the key, right? I physically turned the tool on. I physically turned the car on. When you click on a tool in Modo, you're turning that tool on, and Modo is showing you 3 reminders that a tool is active. From what you can see on my interface right now, give me one of those 3 reminders that a tool is active. Yes, sir? Yeah, absolutely. Check it out. Look at the background color of the button, okay? It's now orange, okay? I told you to remember orange. Orange is an important color inside the Modosphere, okay? It's going to remind you that a tool is on. Mr. Verga, go ahead. Yeah, check it out. In the actual Modo Viewport, we get some tool handles, okay? Another nice visual reminder that something is now on. And what I'm talking about are these guys, okay? All of these tool handles, okay? What's the third visual reminder that a tool is active? And this is the difficult one.
In the left corner.
Here we go. In the bottom left-hand corner, Modo is showing us some tool options, just like Photoshop, okay? So what we're talking about are these guys down in here. These tool options remind us, or these 3 things remind us that a tool is on, that it's active. This is something that you kind of need to log away in your subconscious as you're working with Modo, because you are driving this vehicle, okay? Only you can prevent forest fires, okay? Right? Only you can, completely avoid really bad modeling problems, okay? Yeah. So be mindful when a tool is active, because when a tool is active, we can really utilize some really cool functionality. With the Move tool active, check it out. We get these really groovy handles. And each one of these handles represents the ability to move this teapot along a very specific axis. If I was to move my little teapot using the blue handle, which direction or which axes would I be moving my teapot along? The Z. If I grab the green one, what would happen? Y. So up and down, and last but certainly not least, what would happen if I used the red handle? X. You got it. Let me show you what I'm talking about. So if I just went in, grab these little tool handles, woo, just grab and go, I'm on my way. Now, do me a favor, create the muscle memory now. Don't click until the tool handle turns yellow, okay? That way you know beyond any reasonable doubt that you are moving that object along that axis. When you roll over a tool handle, it's going to give you a highlight rollover color of yellow. Don't click until you see yellow, okay? Pretty cool, huh? Okay, so that's the Move tool. That's the Move tool. You're going to be moving a lot. Now earlier, a moment ago, I told you that we turn the tool on. When you get to school, after you drive your car to school, what do you do before you leave your car? You just pulled into the parking spot. You were lucky enough to get a parking spot somewhat close to school. You're not like parked like on the other side of, like 99. You don't have a 10-minute hike to school, you got a good spot. What do you do the moment you pull into the spot? You sleep. You don't go to sleep, David. Yeah, Keelan's got it. You turn the engine off. For us, we have to turn our tool off, okay? Because Modo has these global tools that are always going to be on until we turn them off. Now, this is a really powerful feature when we start doing some advanced level modeling, where we want to have our tools on while we're slicing things, while we're beveling things. But we need to get into the habit of turning our tools off. Has anyone stumbled on how to turn or deactivate a tool? Yeah, go ahead. Click it again. Simply just clicking on the button again is going to turn the tool off. Absolutely. Boom, it's off. How do I know it's off? Yeah, it's not orange anymore. The tool options down here have gone away, as have our handles in the center of our screen. Those 3 visual reminders that the tool was on are now gone. Okay, pretty cool. All right. Another way, and probably the most prevalent way, of deactivating a tool, I just reactivated it. You'll see this a lot. This has been around since the early days of Modo. And it's just the space bar. If you were to simply tap the space bar, you're going to deactivate the tool. Just that simple. If you watch a lot of the videos online from other luxologists in the Modo community, you'll hear them referring to this action as dropping the tool. Okay? Dropping the tool. Tapping the space bar will deactivate or drop the tool from the tool pipe. Okay? Now I saw a hand. I don't want to avoid the question. You get a question?
Like when I hit the spacebar, it seems to go to verticals, like edges, and polygons are top of the spacebar.
Great comment. So if no tool is active, okay, now my move tool's on. I can see the button highlight color's gone to orange. I got some tool handles in the center. I got tool options over here. So if I was to tap the space bar now, it's going to turn off the tool. Nothing's on. If no tool is active, the space bar is going to allow us to cycle through our different selection sets, okay, which is pretty cool. So if I was just simply, and what we're talking about are all of these guys up in here. Remember vertices, edges, and polygons? So if I was to tap the space bar, watch what happens. It cycles through those selection sets. Okay, really easy. Really easy. Great question. Great question. Okay, that's the move tool. Let's just very quickly go in and look at the rotation tool. Keyboard shortcut for rotate is E. E is an echo. Once again, we activate the tool. We get some tool handles. Each one of these little circles represents rotation along a certain axis. Okay, pretty cool. And my computer just hung up on me. There we go. So I can rotate my model a number of ways. Pretty cool. All right. However, don't use the gray ones. Never use that gray circle on the outside. I even hesitate to bring it up. Only use the colored circles on the interior of the tool handle. That gray circle is going to allow you to rotate this object along the screen axis, and that's a whole lot of hurt right there. That's just a headache you want to avoid. Because basically what you're doing when you're rotating along the screen axis is you're losing all control, okay? We don't want to lose control. We don't know at which axes or at which value we're rotating this object along, so just ignore it. This is a landmine that will blow up in your face if you start messing around with that gray handle, okay? Okay. The last one that I want to show you, let's drop the tool by hitting the space bar. Boom. The last one that I want to show you is the scale tool. Now the scale tool has some interesting handles on it. Okay, keyboard shortcut for scale is R. It's also the last icon in that row in your basic tool pipe. Okay, if you look closely at the scale tool, as we explored, we still have. Let's zoom in a little bit. We still have 3 handles that represent modification along a very specific axes. Okay, so if I was to grab the blue one, we can kind of squish our teapot. That's not very cool. Okay, pancaked it. Don't know why I'd want to do that, but you can. So we can modify this along different axes if we'd like. Okay, but what if I want to make my teapot just globally bigger and globally smaller? How do we do that? Does anyone figure this out? Mr. Virga? Yes, that light blue circle in the center of the tool handle will allow us to globally make things bigger and globally make them smaller. Let me show you what I'm talking about. So here's my tool handle, this little blue guy. And your mouse cursor has to be on the inside of the circle to work. So you left click and drag, and I'm making my guy bigger and smaller. Bigger and smaller. Pretty cool, huh? Pretty cool. All right, questions about the basic transform tools inside of Modo? All right. Earlier, I mentioned that selections play an important role inside of the Modo ecosystem. What if I just wanted to move the spout of my teapot? What would we need to do? Yeah, we got to select it first. Because if nothing is selected in our scene, everything in our scene is going to be edited. Well, I only want to edit the spout of my teapot. So I need to select those polygons first. I got to select it. I'm going to go into my polygon selection mode. Just going to grab it right there. orbit around until I can see the spout of my teapot, and simply double click. With my spout selected, activating the move tool in my basic tool pipe will give me the option to move that spout anywhere in my scene. Whatever is selected is going to be edited. If nothing is selected, everything is going to be edited. That rule applies to every single tool inside the Modo ecosystem, okay? It is a foundation level pillar that the entire application is built around. Make sense? Yeah? All right. Cool. Let's keep cruising then. Question? Yeah, go ahead.
The little circles that are by the arrows, what are those?
Ah, those are called the coplanar handles. Let's talk about those little dots, okay? Up until now, we've only been transforming my little spout along a single axis, right? I just moved it kind of along the z-axis here momentarily, okay? The coplanar handles, and specifically what he's talking about, it may be kind of difficult to see, but I'll do my best to orbit my scene. Yeah, I can see two out of the three pretty easily from this perspective. And what we're talking about are these guys. Those coplanar handles, okay? Those coplanar handles allow us to transform this selection along two axes simultaneously, okay? So maybe I want to transform the spout of my teapot along the X and the Z. I don't want to move it up and down, but I need to move it around the ground floor of my scene, okay? Grabbing one of these coplanar handles will allow us to do it. Here's how I remember what role these coplanar handles play inside of our three-dimensional scene. You can see that they're different colors. Actually, I've accidentally clicked on, the yellow one is supposed to be blue, okay? So just pretend that it's blue for the time being, okay? Here's how I remember the role of each one of these coplanar handles. The color handle that you select represents the axis that you're not going to be influencing this object along, okay? That you're not going to be changing. So if I was to grab the green coplanar handle, which axes would I be moving this object along? The red and the blue, right? Which represent what? X and Z. So whatever handle you choose, whatever the color is the axes that you're not going to be manipulating. So if I was to grab the red one, which axes would I not be moving this object along? The X, right? I'd be moving it along the Y and the Z. Okay? You'll find these coplanar handles on the move and on the scale tool, just FYI. Questions? We good so far? All right. We've talked about the interface. We've talked about selections. We've talked about the basic transform tools. Let's build something, man. Let's do something. All right? Let's actually physically construct something in our scene. Now that we have a good foundation of skills to work with, let's make something. Okay? All right. So I got my teapot here. I want to delete it. How do I delete something inside of Modo? You could make a new document. That's a lot of extra clicks. I just want to delete my geometry. There's an easier way of doing it. Eli, hit the delete key. Now, we have a little bit of a problem here on the Mac. Okay? Everyone look down at your keyboard for a second. Really look at your keyboard. How many keys say delete? 2. Which key is responsible for deleting things? Well, yes, they both are going to delete stuff, but they are both. I know this is the one thing that just makes me go, ah, Apple, what are you doing? Okay, why can't? Okay, the one on the top row, the one next to the plus and equal sign, that's historically what key? Backspace. Okay, for whatever reason, the guys down in Cupertino have called it delete. And the key over by the was it insert, right? Insert and end and home. That one is historically the delete key. Okay? Watch what happens when I hit the backspace key. Okay? The top row guy. And to illustrate this, I'm going to turn on show vertices. Okay? There's all the vertices of my mesh. If I hit the backspace key, boom. What happened? Yeah, I deleted the surface, but I kept all the vertices. This is bad. You don't want this. We like never want this, okay? So never, ever, 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 ever hit the backspace key. Landmine just blew up in your face, okay? You've now added problems into your scene that we want to avoid. Inversely, what I want you guys to do is to hit the delete key, the one that's over by the home and the insert, okay? That's the one that I want you guys to press, okay? And if you press that one, boom, bye-bye. It's gone. Model is gone, okay? All right, now that we've cleaned out our scene, let's make something, okay? Yes, sir?
I might need to use a little assistance since I have basically no idea how to use this software.
Okay, well, that's what we're here to learn how to do, okay? So let's learn how to make some stuff, okay? We've moved, we've rotated, we've scaled until our heart's content. Let's build something, okay? So the basic instruction tools are found in the upper left-hand corner of your basic tool tab, okay? And specifically, where I'm going in the interface here are these two rows, this one and this one. These two rows allow us to make some stuff, okay? Pretty cool, all right? Each one of those tools is responsible for generating a different shape. Let's start off by drawing a cube, okay? So if I was to simply just grab the cube tool, let me zoom out. So grab the cube tool by turning it on. What happens? Nothing. There's no cube. There's no cube yet, okay? Nothing has happened, okay? And this is where people generally get kind of pretty confused with the Modo tools because they hit a button and they expect to see cube, right? This is the common problem for people who know nothing about computer graphics. They think that there is a magic like rocket ship button where you hit a button, boom, Star Wars, right? No, we got to build everything from scratch, okay? If we want a cube, we got to use our eyeballs and our artistic brain to make a cube, okay? So check it out. We've turned the tool on, right? The button's gone orange. We have options down at the bottom. Now our job as the artist is to draw a cube. Check it out. I'm going to draw a cube. And I just left-clicked and dragged. Left-click and drag. Question? Question?
I'm trying to do the assignment. Get started on it anyway.
Okay. Were you able to draw a cube? Everyone draw a cube for me if you have the application open in front of you, okay? Because when you draw a cube, check it out. We have some options that show up in front of us. Now, it's important to remember, and I can see Katina's already made this problem, and I want to make sure everyone doesn't make this problem going forward. Be in polygonal mode. You know, have that polygons buttons selected at the top of the screen before you start any of this. Never, ever, 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 ever be in item mode. We'll talk about that next week. Okay.
Is a rectangle.
You are absolutely correct. That is not a cube. It's very much a two-dimensional rectangle. So we have some work in front of us. However, when we draw our two-dimensional rectangle, we get some options that will allow us to continue to edit this two-dimensional rectangle in the 3D viewport. Okay? So we have some action handles around the border of our two-dimensional rectangle. If I click and drag on these little green cubes, I can change the size along the Y and the Z axis. If you look at the center, we have our standard move tool, so I can move this object upon creation, which is kind of neat. Okay, so maybe I want my cube to be born over there. I can move it to that part of my scene. But it's two-dimensional, right? It's just a flat plane. It's not a three-dimensional cube. How do I make it three-dimensional? How do I make it three-dimensional? Be a little bit more specific. Grab that wall. Which one? Where am I clicking and pulling? The main pane. So if we were to click and drag right in that main pane, we make a cube. Now, here's what I would like to suggest that you do. Don't click and drag on the main pane. If you look very, very carefully at the center of my two-dimensional cube, I got a red square. Now that red square looks almost identical in shape to the blue one here, the green one there, and the red one in the center. So if I grab that guy, there it is, you can see that I've created a true three-dimensional shape now. Rock and roll, pretty cool. So we can make a custom cube on the fly. All of our basic creation tools are going to work along these same parameters. So if we were to make a sphere and draw a sphere using the left click and drag method that we used for the cube, we'd get similar action handles and we'd perform a similar kind of production kind of technique. Okay? I'm done with my cube, so what do I got to do to it? I've turned the car on, I've come to school. What's the last thing we do before we walk to school? Turn the car off. How do we deactivate a tool? Spacebar. Drop the tool by hit the spacebar. And the moment that we hit the spacebar, you can see that all of those tool handles go away. All of our tool options go away. Okay? Same basic principles and rules apply for all of the other basic creation tools. Okay? So if I was to go grab like the sphere tool, left click and drag, pull out a circle, but it's just a two-dimensional circle. How do I make it into a globe, a three-dimensional sphere? Yeah, that red handle in the center allows me to grow it into a sphere. Okay. Now I've done a really, someone playing music? Is that next door? Okay, it's next door. Okay. Yeah, I guess I can't complain about the guys next door if they're playing music. Okay. Now I've done a really bad job of making a sphere, right? It's kind of like an ellipse. It's like a football. It's like it's been squished a little bit. It isn't a perfect sphere. How do we make a perfect sphere? I want to make a perfect sphere. I want to have a perfect cube. Spacebar to drop the tool. Boom. Move on. Okay. That's not a perfect sphere, right? As is that. Not a perfect cube. No likey. I want to have perfect cubes, perfect spheres, perfect cylinders. The tool options, absolutely. Those parameters, we can numerically go in and make all the sides of the cube equal or all the sides of my sphere the same value. There's an easier way of doing this, though. Let me show you what I'm talking about. A perfect cube, a symmetrical sphere, a perfect cylinder, these are called primitives. Unit primitives. And if you remember back to our lab assignment this week, your goal is to make 5 unit primitives. If you follow along in the next 5 minutes, you will finish your lab assignment. Okay? How do I delete my cube? I've selected it. How do I delete it? Delete key. Delete key. Boom. Bye-bye. How do I delete my sphere? Select it. Delete key. Bye-bye. I want to show you how to make a unit cube. It's really easy. We're going to do kind of the exact same thing that we did before, but it's going to require us to add in a keyboard modifier. One little extra step. If we go back to the cube tool in the upper left-hand corner of the screen, check it out. All right. If we go back up here to the cube tool, check it out. If you were to hold down the control key on your keyboard, look what happens next to the icon. You get those kind of cool little rulers, okay? Those rulers are the Modo way of telling you that if you were to click on a cube or any number of these unit primitives, that you would create a perfect cube. Let's do it. I'm going to zoom out so you guys can see the result of this action in the center of my scene. So hold down the control key. We get the green rulers next to the icon. Bam, click, perfect cube. Unit primitive cube. Okay, let's do it again. I'm going to hold down the control key and click on the sphere. Bam. Oh, wait a minute. Where's my sphere? It's inside my box, okay? When you create a unit primitive, that unit primitive is automatically going to be placed at the origin of the scene. If we have 2 objects populating the same space within the origin of our scene, they're going to cover each other up. So what do we got to do? How am I going to find my sphere?
Using the wireframe.
We can go into wireframe, but they'd still not be on top of each other. But it's a good way of seeing the sphere. Yeah? Yes! Yusra's got it. We got to move it. We got to move it. Okay? I'm in my polygonal selection set. So if I was to simply double click on my cube and move it out of the way, we'd probably find, double click, I'm going to go activate the move tool, drag it to the left, bam, there's my sphere. Okay? Let's do it one more time. Let's do it one more time. I'm going to hold down the control key and click on the cylinder. Cylinder is a little bit easier to see. It comes out bigger than the sphere. But if I double click on it, grab the move tool, drag it to the right, now I got my guys. Okay. Pretty cool, huh? Pretty cool. So remember, to create unit primitives, you got to hold down the control key. Got to hold down the control key. All right? All right. Question? Yes, sir. Shift key. Now, shift key, I was trying to avoid the shift key at all costs because it definitely kind of muddies up the water to a certain degree. It is going to create a unit primitive. However, it's going to place that unit primitive in a new layer. I mentioned earlier that our item list over here is kind of like the layers palette over in Photoshop. And I have a couple layers. I have one called teapot and another called mesh. Okay. Now, if I was to, so remember that. If I was to hold down the shift key and click on the torus, which is just a really fancy word for donut. Okay, there's my torus. If you look over here in my item list, you can see that that torus has been placed in its own dedicated layer. Okay, so if you want all of your unit primitives to end up on one item, that works. Okay, the control key is your guy. If you want everything separated out, the shift key is the one that you want to use. Okay. All right. Yes, ma'am.
How do you make it so that you can move them all individually? Because if you keep putting on all the shapes, they're all moved.
So we gotta. This is, herein lies the basic problem with 3D modeling. You're in the driver's seat, okay? So you have to control your scene. If they're all in the same spot, we got to be able to very carefully select just the polygons that we need to manipulate and move them out of the way. So let me show you the result of what we're after here, Kellen. Okay. So let me go back. I'm going to just hit undo for a couple seconds here. And I'm going to place, shoot, we'll just do this. We'll just delete that one, delete my cube, and I'm going to hold down the control key, add a cube, add a cylinder, add a cone. Okay? Remember, polygonal selection set. Okay? They're all in the exact same place. We got to separate them out. In polygonal selection mode, double-clicking on one of the meshes will select all of that. Now, I can grab the move tool and get it out of the way. Okay? So I kind of have to do it individually. Can go and grab the cylinder, move it out of the way. Can go and grab the sphere, move tool again, move it out of the way. Drop the tool. Okay? That's how we're going to resolve this issue. Pretty cool, huh? Pretty cool. Welcome to creating stuff inside of Modo. Yes, sir. Okay. Is there a question that I can resolve? Okay, fair enough. Yes, sir.
How do you get yours to where it's like standing up? Mine's all sideways.
Ah, okay. Which brings us to another conversation that I was trying to push until next week, but if we want to jump ahead, that's fine. All of mine are kind of being placed on what people would classically define as the ground, okay, along the XZ axis. And really what's determining the placement or the creation of all of these objects within our scene is a special Modo feature called the work plane. And I've intentionally turned mine off so I don't confuse you guys. I've just activated it. If you look very, very carefully in the OpenGL viewport, you've probably noticed a light gray grid. It's always there. It's persistent. It never goes away, yet at times it changes its orientation. If you look on my screen, you can see the location of that light gray grid. It's this guy here. Okay, that's called the work plane. You okay, Liam? Do you need to take a break? Okay. That little light gray grid is called the work plane. Okay, the work plane is an interactive snapping grid, and it ultimately determines the placement of all of these objects within the scene. Okay. As we orbit and move around our three-dimensional scene, this work plane is going to change its orientation. So as soon as I orbit down, check it out, boom, it snaps to the floor. Wherever the work plane is currently residing is going to determine the creation of all of our objects. Let me show you what I'm talking about in action here. Okay, I want to move away from my origin, And right now, my work plane is along the XY axis. So if I was to create, I don't know, a cone, for example, it snaps its orientation to that work plane. But what if I wanted the cone to be born from the ground up? If we change the orientation of our OpenGL viewport to get the work plane to snap to the ground, watch carefully, it's going to snap here any second. It just did it. Snap, snap, snap. Now when I create my cone, check it out. It's going to be created on the floor. Okay? It's a snapping grid. You'll get used to working inside this work plane environment as you get more experience inside of Modo. For today, just know that it's there. And for the next couple weeks until we get comfortable working with it, you're just going to have to move and rotate your things around in your scene to get them where you need them to go. Okay? All right, so, I need to hustle here because I'm running out of time. I got some additional things I need to talk about specifically for your homework, okay? All right, so I'm going to hit the backspace key here, or the delete key, and delete all the objects in my scene. If you looked at the homework assignment that we were working with earlier today, you're making a coffee cup, right? Pretty easy. Coffee cup. Let's take a look at it real fast. I'm going to go back to renderography.com real quick. There we go. And if we go to the homework section, the homework tab, inside of this week's course information, you'll find, as soon as it loads, some examples of what we're going to be building. Okay, and I'll just click on one to bring them up so you guys can see it a little bit bigger. I've added these examples for you guys. They're examples of some very successful student projects in the past. So these aren't things that I have made. These are things that your counterparts that have come before you have crafted on this very assignment. Okay. Now, whenever we start any 3D modeling project, the hardest part is the beginning, right? Like any endeavor, just knowing and understanding what that first step is the challenge. Okay. Let's make the challenge a little bit easier. Whenever I start modeling anything, I decode and break down the shape that I'm trying to make. If you try to model an airplane, it's going to be almost impossible if you don't understand the shape, right? If you just try to say, I want to model a Lamborghini, a really cool high-end sports car, just trying to figure out where you start is going to be the stopping point for your project. Because if you just try to think, it's a Lamborghini, you're never going to be able to understand the shapes that you're trying to construct. So we need to look for the simple shapes in our scene. We need to try to figure out the primitive shapes that all 3D models are built from. Now look carefully at my little coffee cup up here. What basic shape is my coffee cup? It's a cylinder, right? So we already have a good idea of maybe which tool we should use to create our coffee cup over in Modo. If the basic shape is a cylinder, what tool are we going to start with? The cylinder tool. The cylinder tool. Okay. To help us out, I've created a reference image that will help you craft this object. In the resources section, there it is. If you download one thing from the resources section, please make sure you download, that's the wrong one. Please make sure you download that guy right there, the backdrop image. This is a tracing guide. This is an image that we're going to import into Modo and use to trace the coffee cup. Is this cheating? No, this is not cheating. Okay, this is how we build things. Everyone asks on day one, I feel weird tracing someone else's work. That's how we do it. Okay? It really is. Whenever I'm making a model of a car, the first thing I do is I go find blueprints of the car. And what do? I trace the car in 3D. Okay? Because it just makes it easier. Okay? So we're going to use this backdrop image as a springboard for our design. So download it. It's a zipped archive. On the Mac, it's going to automatically unzip. Oops. It should download to your machine. Mine's downloading. It should go to your downloads folder on your Mac. On some people, like on my machine, I have it, there it is, showing up here. On my machine, I have it, my system saved or set up to download all documents to my desktop. But for you guys, it will probably be saved to your downloads folders. And remember, it's a zipped file. So on a Mac, simply double-click on the zipped archive, and it will extract the contents and put it in the same location as your zipped archive. In my case, it's just going to place it on the desktop. And there it is. If you look very, very carefully, hit the space bar, do a little quick preview here. It's just an image of a coffee cup. It's a profile of our coffee cup. This is going to be our blueprint to success. Okay? So let's start talking about how we're going to import this object into Modo. It's really easy to do this. Actually, it's stupid easy to do this. It's really kind of neat. Let me show you how to do it. Okay? We're going to import this into Modo. Okay? And we're going to put it in the background of our scene so we can trace it, right? Let's go back into Modo. And I'm going to do something really kind of tricky here, or really kind of fancy. I want to drag and drop this image from my Finder window right into the OpenGL viewport of my machine. Okay? This is really neat. So in order to do this, I need to go into the Finder application and make a new window. So I want to have Modo in the background, like I have it here. And then when I go down to my dock, open up Finder, I'll create a new Finder window. Oh, there it is. And it's on my desktop. Check it out. There's the coffee cup blueprint image that I want to use as my backdrop item. And if I simply left-click and drag this into my scene back here in Modo, check it out. It now lives in Modo as a backdrop item. Okay? Ta-da! Perfect. Perfect. Okay? Now we can start building this coffee cup from scratch. It's going to be big. It's going to be big. Yes, sir. Okay, let's take a deep breath. We'll answer all your questions here momentarily, okay? Can you do it one more time? Yeah, absolutely. So it's a little bit tricky. Admittedly, it's a little bit tricky, but it requires having Modo in the background, as I have it here. If you bring your mouse cursor down to the bottom of the screen and click on the Finder icon, which is this little dude over here on the little blue face on the left-hand side, it's going to bring open your Finder app. If you don't get a Finder window, go to the top of the screen where it says File, New Finder Window. I saved my blueprint to my desktop, okay? And I've navigated my Finder window to the desktop. And then all you need to do is just drag and drop into the window behind, and it will load that image as a backdrop item. Now, please make sure you're dragging and drop the image, not the zipped archive. Is that what you're doing? Double-click on the .zip file to extract the contents, and then it should work. Okay? This is the easiest way to add a backdrop image in Modo.
When you drop it in, does it automatically put the image in the point of origin for you? Or,
Right there at the origin. It's kind of an intelligent app like that. It's nice. Okay. All right, let's make something. Okay, let's physically build our little coffee cup here. Now, I would recommend starting a new project in this for this. Okay. That way you can start with a clean slate. You don't have to deal with your teapot or your unit primitives that you were working with before. Okay? New project. New project. Okay? File new. File new. Okay? When you start a new project, you'll get an empty mesh item over here in your item list. Just make sure that's selected, and also make sure that you're in your polygonal selection set. Okay? Polygonal selection set. What basic shape is our coffee cup? Cylinder. So what tool are we going to activate to make our cylinder? Cylinder tool, yeah. Okay. Now we're getting it. Now we're getting it. All right. Which one's the cylinder tool? How do you put the cup into your document because it's not showing up? I want to show you guys some really cool technology here that I use a lot in this classroom. Okay, Big Brother is watching you in this room. I love this. Okay, we have a really cool application called Remote Desktop. And Remote Desktop allows me basically, oh, they have added a password. Darn it. I forgot. Hold on a sec. This is new, yeah. Okay. Okay, well, I'm not going to be able to show you then. It is really cool. I'll have to get IT to fix it for you. Because I was going to spy on Liam's machine and give him a hand. Let's see if we can help you out, Liam. Okay, so yeah, you're really You're close. Just drag and drop it into the window behind you. There you go. Now click back in Modo. Hit the A key. There it is. There it is. Okay, now Liam ran into a common problem that you're going to see a lot while working in Modo, okay? If you run into an issue where you can't see your image, okay, or you can't see your model, so something like this, remember, hit the A key. It's going to automatically fit the contents of your three-dimensional scene inside your 3D viewport. Boom. Okay? Nice handy-dandy keyboard shortcut to quickly find what you need. Now, I'm going to make a cylinder, and since I have my work plane going, I'm going to rotate my 3D scene until my work plane snaps on the ground plane. Grab my cylinder tool, and we're going to practice making a perfect circle together as a class real fast, okay? Making perfect circles is not difficult, but it does require a couple steps. Let me show you what those steps are. Here's what I want you to do. To make a perfect circle, follow the following procedure, okay? Click once, anywhere in your three-dimensional scene. Click once, boom. You're going to see some tool handles. Now here's what I need you to do. I physically need you to take your hand off your keyboard, okay? Move your mouse cursor away, okay? Physically away from those tool handles, okay? Once your mouse cursor is away from your tool handles, go back to your keyboard and hold down the Control key. Then left click and drag. You'll make a perfect circle every time. Let's do it again, okay? Gonna get rid of it. Oops. Activate the cylinder tool. Single left click anywhere in your three-dimensional scene. Boom. Physically move your cursor away from your tool handle. Hold down the Control key. Left click and drag. Okay. Yes.
It's not dragging the shape. What do I do?
Is not dragging the shape. Now, hold on 2 seconds here. I want to come over and help you out. It's not dragging the shape. Okay. Aha. Okay, let's do this. Do me a favor. Let's go into polygon mode. Okay. Now, scroll down here. You have a whole bunch of scenes open. Now, I need you to select your mesh item. Now, draw your shape. Turn your cylinder tool back on. Now, give it a go. So let's go through it again, because this is something that people are going to get stuck on. And let's try it again. Okay. Single left click. Boom. And I'm going to do this with my mouse. Here we go. So I'm going to single left click to get my tool handles. Then what am I going to do? Physically move your cursor away from the tool handles some distance. You can see mine here. Then what's next? Hold down the Control key, then left click and drag. Okay, you'll get a perfect circle every time. All right? Spacebar to drop the tool. We want to start with a two-dimensional disk. Now, I need my disk. So if you have a cylinder, like Dylan does, you've gone too far. We want a two-dimensional disk to start off with. Where do I want my two-dimensional disk to be? Yeah, in the same place as my coffee cup, right? Exact same place as my coffee cup. So let's do it real fast. Now, we could absolutely, go over, select that polygon, and physically grab the move tool and move it over, and then do all. That's a lot of work, though, right? Here's what I want you to do instead. There's a button here called Center Selected. If you click on it and choose All, it's going to center that selected polygon along the XYZ axis. So it's basically going to put your selection at the origin of the scene, which is where our reference image is. Boom, perfect. What do I need to do to my cylinder now? Yeah, I need to rotate the disk, right? It's perfectly vertical, and I need to rotate it, boom, so it's on the floor. How do I do that? Yeah, so what I just did was I centered my two-dimensional disk around the origin of my scene. Okay? Just make sure that your disk is selected. Then hit Center Selected right here. Can you see that? Center Selected. And then All. Boom. Now I need to rotate my guy, so I'm going to activate the Rotate tool. You might not have to do this on yours. Question, Liam? All right, I want to rotate my guy by activating the E key. You also could have just gone and hit the button. Okay? Either way works. And I want to rotate mine back along the x-axis. Now, I need a little precision in this. I can't just kind of do it willy-nilly. I need to rotate my disk at a perfect 90 degrees along the x-axis. So don't forget, you have your tool options over here that will allow you to numerically enter in 90, then hit OK. Or return, excuse me. Okay? Now, oops, I'm going the wrong way. Now, I've rotated my object. I'm done with that operation. What do I need to do now? I turned on the car. I used the car. Turn it off. I got to turn that off. How do I turn off a tool? Space bar, drop the tool. All right. Okay. So here's where your cylinder and my cylinder are going to get a little bit different. Because depending on how big you drew your cylinder within the scene is going to determine at what percentage or which rate. Just chill out, Liam. You're okay. At what percentage you're going to have to scale this down. All right? So here's what I need you to do. I need you to start using your eyeballs a little bit. This is where the artist in the word 3D modeling and artist comes into play. Got to use your eyeballs now. Okay? I need to do what to my cylinder to make it match my blueprint? Shrink it down, right? So what tool am I going to use to make it smaller? R. Scale tool. R. Is anyone else looking forward to Talk Like a Pirate Day? I know I am. Yes, sir. Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. So I want to hit the R key, and I want to scale down my guy. Now, which one of these tool handles am I going to use to scale down my cylinder? Or my disc, excuse me. Which one of these? Someone said it? The circle in the middle. Absolutely. Why? Why are we going to choose the circle in the middle above all else? Yeah, because it guarantees that we're going to retain the perfect circular nature of my disc. If I grab an individual handle here, what would happen to my circle? Yeah, it's going to turn into a football. It's going to turn into an oval, an ellipse. We don't want that. So I'm going to grab that center blue handle and make it smaller. Maybe right in there, okay? And shoot, while we're at it, I'm going to drop the tool and activate the move tool and bring it down to the base. Right in there. There we go. Now also, make it smaller to match my reference. Okay. Hopefully everyone's gotten to that point. Okay. Now I can see across a couple machines that people are getting true three-dimensional cylinders. This is not bad, but it may kind of come back to haunt you here in a minute. Yes, sir.
I've got a problem avoiding the backdrop.
Yeah, where are we?
If I drag
there's
it
your
in here,
JPEG.
it just kind of does this.
Yeah, so go here in the camera view. Okay, get out of camera, go in perspective, and hit your A key to auto fit.
I didn't even know that.
Yep, that's okay. Go back into Modo here for me. That works too. Okay, I'm happy with that. Go back into Modo. All right. Now, we have two backdrop items in here. Delete one of them for me. That's the one, yeah, delete both of them. Delete it again. Now, go put your backdrop item in there again.
Oops, not this one.
It's all good. Yeah, you got it though. All right. Sure. Hit A. It did. Hit A. Ba-ba. Okay, so I'm looking around the room and it looks like people are generally at this step. Now it's time for us to start extruding this cylinder, or excuse me, this disc into a cylinder. So thus enter our first edit tool. Okay? It's called the bevel tool. You're going to be using the bevel tool all the time. The bevel tool is basically going to allow us to take a simple shape and transform it into a more complex shape. Okay? Let's check it out. I need to edit my disk. So what's the first thing I got to do? Select it. Who said select it? You get a gold star for the day. Yes, we got to select it first because we got to tell the computer which polygon to influence inside our machine. So I'm going to go into my polygonal selection mode. Okay. Select my disk. and activate the bevel tool. You can find your bevel tool in your basic tools. It's that guy right there. You're going to be using the bevel tool a lot. And when I mean a lot, I mean like every other operation, the bevel tool is going to come into play. So make sure you're committing it to memory. Keyboard shortcut B, B as in bevel. Okay, keyboard shortcut B, B as in bevel. Let's go ahead and apply it. The moment you turn on the tool, you're going to notice that absolutely nothing happens. So you turn on the tool, absolutely nothing happens, right? Yeah, it's supposed to magically make a coffee cup right in front of us using this one magic tool, but nothing happens, okay? Much like the cube tool and the cylinder tool, what do we have to do in order to apply the tool to our three-dimensional scene? We gotta click on the actual surface itself, okay? We've turned the key on, right? We've turned the tool on. Now we gotta like click on the gas pedal, a little bit here to get the car moving. Simply left-clicking in the scene activates and applies the bevel tool to our polygon, okay? Once we left-click, you can see that we get two handles, a blue one and a red one. They have two very, very specific roles. The blue one's going to allow you to extrude this shape up. Let me show you what this looks like. Okay? And it's just going to pull it up. Now we have a cylinder. The red one, however, does something really cool. It's going to scale that shape up a little bit. It's going to scale it up and scale it down. Yeah. I'll tell you what. If you want to take a break, step outside for a sec, collect your thoughts, and then reinsert yourself back into class at the conclusion. I think that would be good. And we can help you after class. Does that sound good, Liam? All right. Okay. So remember, the blue one is going to allow us to pull up and extrude that shape vertically. And the red handle is basically going to scale that shape in and out uniformly. So if you started with the circle, that red handle is going to maintain those proportions. Okay? This is where that little blueprint, that little reference item comes into play. Because now we can start to see where we need to put that red handle to capture that shape. Okay, and I want to place it kind of like right in there. And we're starting to develop the taper of our little coffee cup. All right, let's just look carefully here at what we need to do. Okay, let's talk strategy. Because 3D modeling, you'll hear me say this a lot, to be a good 3D modeler, you kind of have to be like a chess player. You constantly are thinking 8 or 9 steps ahead. Okay, now let's look at the shape that we're trying to make here. We need to make like a little cardboard sleeve that goes around a coffee cup, right? Because every coffee cup needs to have a cardboard sleeve. Without it, you would burn your hands pretty significantly. For whatever reason, whenever I go get my extra large, gigantic coffee at Starbucks, they have it, they boil their water or something like that, and the coffee's like nuclear hot. Have you guys experienced that at coffee shops? Drives me crazy, because when... I know, right? And it's just like, if you're going to have your water, be nuclear hot, practically, you got to give me a cardboard sleeve. Okay, you just got to give me it too, because and it drives me crazy when it's like almost boiling water. Because when I buy a cup of coffee, I would like to drink my cup of coffee then, not wait like a half an hour for the damn thing to cool down so I can drink it. Right? Drives me crazy. Okay, anyways, so we need to think a little bit ahead here. I need to have some geometry on my coffee cup that represents that little cardboard sleeve. We can do all of this with the bevel tool. I need my model to go out, to extend out, and then up to make the cardboard sleeve. So let's drop the tool. Spacebar to drop the tool. Don't drop your selection if you're following along. Okay? Now what I want you to do is to reapply the bevel tool. Just click on the bevel tool again, or hit the B key. B as in bevel on your keyboard. I'm going to hit the B key, and then, once again, click on your model to apply the tool. What we gain here is the ability to continue beveling our object. If I pull up on the blue handle, you can see that we have a new row of polygons showing up Okay, pretty cool. But I don't want to pull up on the blue handle. I want to pull out on the red one, like that. Okay, and I'm going to pull it out to a point where it kind of matches the proportions of my little cardboard sleeve. Pretty cool, huh? Pretty cool. Now, drop your tool again, spacebar. Keep that polygonal selection and reapply your tool. Hit the bevel key again. The B key. Click in your viewport to apply the tool, and now you can drag up. This is the structure that we've created. We've created a little lip. Okay? We've created a cool little lip. We're going to make the entirety of this coffee cup with one tool. Bevel. That's it. Yeah. Okay, so Katrina's running into a problem, and I wish I could show you her problem. She has everything on your model selected, right? So if you need to select just that top polygon, deselect, click over here. Yeah, there you go. All right. So using this construction technique, we're just going to continue beveling up the height of our coffee cup, okay? Now I'm going to bring this guy up until it matches the kind of height of my blueprint. And I'm also going to pull out on the red handle. And now we're starting to match what we have. All right. But check it out. Up until now, we've been beveling, we've pulled up on the blue handle, then we've dropped the tool, reselected the bevel tool, clicked in the viewport, pulled up on a handle, dropped the tool, put the bevel tool back on, did something with the handle, and then dropped the tool. That's a lot of clicking to do the exact same, or to refire the exact same tool over and over and over again. Pat no likey, okay? This is a waste of my time, okay? I would much rather, I want the computer to do all this for me, and it can. You can reactivate a tool without having to drop it by adding a shift key in there, okay? And this is where it kind of gets a little bit unclear. Now, I want to do this as slow as I can. Please notice, my polygon selected. The tool is still active, right? I can still see my tool handles over there. All of my options are going. But I need to reactivate the tool to get more geometry in here, okay? So I'm going to hold down the shift key, and I'm simply just going to click. Boom. Now, does it look like anything's changed? No, herein lies the big visual problem when you're working with the bevel tool, because it doesn't give you a visual reminder that you've applied the tool again. However, if you were to change any of those tool handles, boom, we can pull it in. I'm going to do it one more time. Hold down the shift key and click. Now I can pull up. Okay? I'm going to pull it up until it kind of gets up here. And I'm also going to give it a little bit of an inset, the red handle, to match the taper of my coffee cup. Okay? Now, I want an opening in my cup, right? I want an opening in my cup. We're okay, Liam. We're okay. All right? I want to make the opening in my cup now. It's real easy to do the opening in the cup. We're going to do the exact same thing, but we're going to go down. So I'm going to hold down the shift key and click. Clicky. This time, give it a little bit of an inset by grabbing that red handle. Now, if I just pulled down on the blue handle right now, that's what we'd get. That's bad. Okay? We want that little lip around the interior of the cup so that it has a little bit of structure there. So what do I got to do? How do I reapply the bevel tool without having to drop it? Shift click. Shift click. Now I can drag down with the blue handle, and I'm able to create the opening for the cup. Okay? That shift click function is basically allowing us to reactivate and reapply the tool to the currently selected polygon without having to drop the tool every time. Just visually. Just visually. Yes, ma'am. Okay. Orbit around a little bit so you can see what you got.
It was just flying up. Like I don't have a lip.
Ah, okay.
And
Do it
I know I'm
again.
doing the shift click and everything.
Do it again. Pull out on that little red handle. Okay.
But when I do
Shift. No. Oh, yeah. Hold down the shift key. Click. Yep. Oh,
No.
okay. Hit undo for me. Do it again. Hold down the shift key. Now, I think what your problem is that you're clicking on the handle. Click off the handle. Now try it. Ah!
Oh,
Yes, sir.
Okay, so do I need help with the assignment? I messed up.
Okay,
I messed everything up.
that's fine. That's no problem.
I made the I made this appear to be like 2D, and I don't know how to make it look 3D again, and I don't know what to do. I want to make it look like that.
Yeah.
I want to make it look as superb as what you have up there.
All right. So I like where we're going here, okay? Here's what I want you to do. I want you to drop your tool. That's a good-looking cylinder. Go ahead and drop your tool. Hit the space bar. Bam. Okay. Go to that window right there, that pull-down menu, and go Advanced OpenGL. Okay, now we can see it shaded. Click on your polygonal selection set and grab your polygon. Where does that one need to be?
It needs to be on the 3D plane.
Yeah, or maybe in the center of our three-dimensional plane, which is over here, right?
Yeah.
How are we going to get it to the center?
We need to center it.
Center it, right. There's a command here called center selected, all. There it goes. Okay. Look, we're looking at our scene from the top. What if we change the scene to look through perspective?
Perspective. Scene, where can I find that?
Yeah, keep going. That one right there where it says top. All right. Orbit around in your scene a little bit using our viewport navigation controls.
Okay.
Alt, hold down the option. The middle one. There we go. Me too. Okay. Just visually. Visually. Shift, yeah. Grab that top polygon.
I just went down to the bottom.
Grab that top polygon. Grab your bevel tool. Turn it on. Oop. Hit OK. And then hit undo. Hit undo.
Where's undo?
Edit, just like Microsoft Word. Undo. Or Command Z. Okay. Now, bevel, click. Get your tool handles. Now do the red one. Bring it in, other direction. Yeah. There you go. So now we're making the thickness of the cup. Okay. Hold down your Shift key. Now let go of your mouse button. Okay. Now click anywhere away from the tool handles. Good. Now take the blue one, drag it down.
Hold the Shift key down still.
You're done with Shift key. You only need to hold it down once.
Oh, okay.
Go the opposite direction. Hold on 2 seconds. Did Modo crash?
That's what happened to me earlier.
Okay, so here is the golden rule of all things 3D. Okay, save and save often. Okay, crashes happen. I can't tell you how many times I've had something. I had a project. This is a true story. I had Modo crash on me while I was hitting the save button. And if that's not cruel and unusual, I don't know what is. I mean, I was saving my project and it crashed. 2 seconds. I'm going to give him a hand.
Should we save it as a Modo file and then also as a JPEG?
Yeah, so good question. So I'm going to let you guys continue working on your coffee cup over the course of the next week, but there's 2 things that I need to talk about next. I'll answer questions in a minute. Let me just get through this, and I'll answer your question. Okay? So we need to make sure that we're saving our LXL. So you have some more work to do in front of you. I've gotten you this far. You have some more work in front of you to accomplish and to complete. Okay? But I'm happy with this as is. So I'm going to do File, Save. And what this is going to allow us to do is, hold on, Liam. What this is going to allow us to do is generate our project file, our Luxology project file. And please note, if you look in the Save As dialog box at the top of this popover, you're going to enter in a custom file name, okay? And then the extension is .lxo for Luxology object, okay? This is your master file. This is like your Photoshop document. All of your work is going to be contained in this one project file. So you honor and you save and you protect this file like it's going out of fashion, okay? Because this has all of your work in it. Okay. For your homework and for your lab, you're going to be submitting 2 separate files. Your Luxology project file, which I just showed you how to make. Just like saving a Microsoft Word file. Same kind of principles. Only you know where you saved your file, okay? So please be aware of what you're naming it and where you're saving it. I don't know where you saved your file. I don't, okay? I don't know what you named your file. I don't know where you saved your file. So if you come to me and ask me, Pat, where did I save my file? I'm going to go, I don't know, okay? Only you can manage your media, okay? This is part of being a digital artist, is understanding where your digital files have been saved to, okay? So be aware, just don't click. Be aware on your machine where you're saving it. Now, we've created a Luxology project file. We also need to create our first render. Now, our expectations for the render this week is as such. I just need you to hit the render button. Okay? We're going to have an entire project. We're going to have an entire class dedicated to rendering and texturing and understanding how to set materials. Okay? So here's what I want you to do for this week. Okay? I want you to go over to the render tab. Check this action out. It's pretty cool. I want you to go over to the render tab. The render tab is a unique environment. The render tab is going to allow us to get a real-time instant feedback preview of what the final render is going to look like. That top window, the one that's pure white right now, is my render preview. Ooh. Yeah, not so good, right? Because I don't know about you guys, but I don't see a coffee cup in there at all. It's just white, okay? That's because, at default, not so much a white coffee cup on a white background, but it's by default, we've placed our model at the origin of the scene. Well, the camera that's responsible for rendering that object is also at the origin of the scene. So the camera is inside the cup. Okay?
So do we need to go to animate?
Nope, don't need to go to animate. Here's kind of the magic. Hold on 2 seconds. Here's kind of the magic of the Modo rendering system. You know those viewport navigation controls that we've been using all day long in the OpenGL viewport? Yes, all the same viewport navigation controls that we've been working with apply here in the preview window. So as Mr. Pryor just kind of discovered, if you place your mouse cursor in the center of your preview window up here and hit the magic A button, there's my coffee cup. Okay? It's going to automatically move the render camera to fit the contents of your scene in the preview window. Okay? Now, there it is. Now, we haven't done anything, okay? We haven't rendered anything. We still have 2 more steps that we need to accomplish. If you look very carefully at the top of the screen, there's a button that says render. And what specifically I'm talking about is this one right here. So there it is. There's the render button. That's the one that we're after. We need to press this button. This is one of 2 ways that we can render our scene. Pressing this button will work, or going to the render pull-down window and selecting the first choice in that list will also yield the exact same outcome. And the third way is hitting F9, which is the keyboard shortcut. Okay? Although F9 is probably not going to work in here, in Apple's infinite wisdom, they have placed, what is it? Like the pause button or a volume button on F9. Yeah, if you hold down, there's an FN key somewhere on these keyboards. I think it's over by your home key. If you hold down function F9, then it will work. Okay? I just hit the button. I'm a button guy. I like buttons, buttons, buttons. So I'm just going to hit the render button. Check it out. The moment I hit the render button, the render window pops up. You can see it rendering. Done. Okay? It rendered pretty quickly. So what just happened? What did the computer just do?
Made an image.
Made an image. Okay? It physically drew a picture. It physically drew a picture for us, okay? That's really all we're asking the computer to do when we hit that render button. We're saying, here's all our polygonal objects. We need you to draw it for us, okay? And it has successfully drawn it for us. However, the one thing it has not done yet is save it. It still hasn't saved the image. It's drawn the image, but it hasn't saved the image. So here's the step that people often miss. They render things like crazy. They render. They have a good time rendering away, but they very quickly forget to hit the Save Image button. Okay, we've got to save our image. Okay, let's save it. If you look back on the assignment sheets on Luxology or on Renderography, I want you to save everything as a JPEG. Okay, a JPEG, please. This will make it the file size pretty small. It'll also make the quality pretty decent. Okay, everything that you see on my website is in a JPEG form as far as render goes. It's great. It's a really great system to use. If you want it, we're going to jump into that next week. So if you want to know how to change the color of things, you can go on to Modopedia. Yeah. Say again? Don't worry about changing the color of the coffee cup. If you want to do it, look on Modopedia. It's in the materials section. And there's a video called Applying Materials. There's no expectation, however, for you guys to start applying materials to your coffee cup. Okay?
I need to get started.
Okay. Hold on a sec. We got you covered. Any questions? Questions? Yes, ma'am. Vlada. It's due next week. This is due next week. It's worth 50 points.
So you
Okay.
just, for the specifics, you just want us to submit the JPEG and the XLO file?
Yes. LXO. LXO. It's the Luxology project file. Yeah.
So will this suffice as completion, or do I need like a
Done. Done. Mr. Pryor. Yeah, no, here, so it's a great question. James asked, do we have to make the little lid? Yes.
No, I mean the lid. We have to make the lid inside of the lid.
If you want to, that's fine. Yeah. Yeah, Liam. What? It's my pen. Liam, question.
you might have to come up here. Sorry.
Okay. Keelan, what's up?
It's Kellen.
Kellen. I'm going to get it. Keep hounding me if I call you Keelan again. It's Kellen. Kellen. I got it. Lock safe in here. Kellen, question. Yes. Kellen.
I kind of fell behind.
Okay.
Wait, I guess.
All right. So we got about. That clock is wrong, by the way.
It's like I remember everything, but except.
Hold on
for
2 seconds. Okay.
4:13.
We got about class ends at 4:30. Okay. Remember, on Thursdays we go from 1:15 to 4:30. So we got about 15 minutes in class. That clock is very wrong. It's about 10 minutes behind. I think the battery's dead on it. So if you look at the clock that's on the top of my screen, it's 4:13. We got about 15 minutes left in class. Let's use the remaining time left in class to finish the lab, get a kickstart on your homework. There's only one of me, so please be patient with your question. Kellen's got a question. Liam's got a question. What's your name again? Roberto's got a question. We can get your questions answered. Crowdsource your questions. Ask your neighbor. They may know the answer. Okay? Kellen, let's get to work.
Yeah, I'm kind of stuck.
Okay.
At step one.
Step one.
Getting like, I don't know. I kept like unclicking it and it would disappear, and then I couldn't
Right.
find it again. Then I got
Right.
stuck, and then it
Okay.
kept going.
Well, let's do this. If you go to the top here, click on your mesh item. There we go. Now, what basic shape is our cylinder? Our coffee cup.
So
A cylinder, right. So go find your cylinder tool. Bam. Make a cylinder. A disc. Yep, okay. It's in there. Now, your interface is kind of odd at the moment. Can you do me a favor? Drop your tool for me. Spacebar. There you go. Click on that little arrow. Did you do that?
no.
Click on, see how the little yellow arrows. Get out of there. Yellow arrows. The ones that are yellow. Click on that. Interesting. Okay, go to the very tippy top of your screen. Mouse cursor up. There's going to be, see a little blue button? Click on it. Aha, okay. Don't make your app full screen, because what you lose are a whole bunch of options and a whole bunch of tabs. Okay, that's going to cause problems. If you want your window to fill this space, click the little green gumdrop. There you go. Okay. Now,
It's cutting into the top.
it's cutting in. Yeah, let's do this. Let's go to Layout, Restore, and just hit OK. All right. It's still cutting into it. Put your mouse cursor kind of like right here. Now, see how it changes? Click and drag down. There it is. Okay, now we get all our stuff. That's weird. Okay, I'm helping her at the moment. Okay.
Can I say something? I think when I stay after today, I'm going to do all of my assignment because I don't have the software myself.
Okay, we're gonna have a larger conversation about this, Liam, after class. Okay. Okay. So there's your cylinder way down over there, but it's not a circle. It's very much a football, right? Select it for me. Now we want to select the polygon. Yeah, you got it. So it doesn't look that great. Let's get rid of it. Cool. Let's make it again. Go back to your cylinder tool. I'm going to show you that trick. Now, we're going to make a perfect circle. Click once in your interface. Okay, now move your cursor away from your tool handles. That's good. Then what are you going to do?
Control.
Control, yep. Hold down the control key. Now click and drag. Phew. Keep going. Ah, perfect. Drop your tool. Okay, grab your polygon. Now we need to rotate and move that so it's kind of in line with the base. How do you rotate it? Yeah. You got it. That's move. What's the one? How do we rotate it? Go back to the move tool. Where were you?
Excuse me.
Yeah.
I'm gonna excuse myself for a brief moment to get my dagger and tell me I'm gonna stay after.
Okay, I can only be here till about 5 o'clock.
Well then. Well. Then I'm gonna call him anyway.
Okay. All right, so right next to the move tool, to the right of the move tool, there's the rotation tool. That one right there, yes, perfect. So which direction do we need to move it? Yes. Perfect, good. Now we need to be kind of precise, right? What degree of rotation are we going to do? 90, yeah, hit 90 in there. Return, perfect, great. Spacebar to drop the tool. Now your reference image is at the origin, the center of your scene, right? Is that at the origin? No. We need to center it. Center selected. All. Boom, now it's in the same place as your reference. Pretty cool, huh? We started down here at the bottom. So how are you going to get your disk down here to the bottom?
Drag it down.
Or move it down, right? Yeah. So what tool are you going to use to move it? Yeah, you got it. Good. No, not that one. The green one, right? Yes. And move it down so it's kind of in the same. Perfect. Now it looks a little big, right?
Yeah.
So what are we going to do to it? Scale it.
Would it be this one?
That's the one. You got it. And now for this one, we hit the center one, right? The light blue center one. Yeah. Let's do it. Try to match it. Can you see if you can match the size? Yeah, that's close. That's good. Good. Perfect. Drop your tool. Now let's make it into a 3D shape. Hit the B key. Or bevel. Is that bevel?
Yeah.
Yeah, perfect. Now what do you got to do?
I don't see the handles. Do I
Okay, yeah, because,
click on it?
yeah, there it is. And there are the handles, right?
And then
Liam, I'll give you a hand if you want, okay? Okay. So what direction are we going to go with that? Blue one. Yeah, now it's it looks a little backwards at the moment. So here's what I want you to do. Go up with the blue handle. Okay, now we've gone too far. We want to kind of match it with the edge here. Okay. Now drop your tool. And we kind of messed up. So double click on your mesh.
that's
Double
the problem
click.
I had.
Yeah,
before.
so there you go. Now you see how the rollover, that color there? Double click. Hit the F key to flip it. Now it's looking like we should be looking, okay? Basically all your polygons were facing inside. We flipped them so they face outside, okay?
How do I get it so that it's kind of facing me and not?
Yeah. Viewport navigation commands, right? If you want to rotate your view, yeah, there it is. Okay, now you have the trackball rotation on. Hit the O key on your keyboard. I think you came in after we went over this. Drawing and control. Trackball rotation to no. Perfect. Now your orbit's going to work the way you think it should. Alt. That one. Perfect. Yeah. There you go. All right.
And to move it?
Or okay, so let's grab that top polygon. Grab that top one. Okay, hit the R key to scale it up because we want to scale it now. Grab the center circle and scale it so it matches the taper of the coffee cup. Good, 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 good. That's good, right about there. Okay, drop the tool and hit the bevel tool. Yep, hit B, clicky. There you go, got our tool handles. Now we want to make the cardboard sleeve, right? Grab the red handle, pull it out. Okay, see how we're making a lip? Now that we have the lip, we want to bring it up. Interesting. Hit undo for me. Yep, okay. Hit shift, hold down shift, now click. Did you click? Okay, good. Now you can let go to shift, drag up on the blue handle. Ah! See how we've made a lip? Holding down the shift key reapplies the tool. We're basically doing this. We're going, Kellen, we're going up, out, in, up, out. Okay? Rinse and repeat until you go all the way up the cup. Okay?
All right.
All right. I'm going to hit these two people. I'll come right back. Okay? Yeah.
I just need help with making a cylinder because every time I click this, it just...
Yeah, I'm on the move tool.
You just turned the tool off, so that's probably why. There you go.
Are you gonna want colored or just render?
Nah, that's fine. That's perfect.
So,
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. That's not bad.
isn't it supposed to be like circle?
The reason why it's kind of octagonal is because we have the sides set to 7. I didn't talk about that, but if you put it at like 20, it'll look pretty circular.
And how do you like flip it? So
Rotate it, man. Rotate it. So hit return. Return. Looks like a circle. Drop your tool.
spacebar,
We've got to select it, right? How do we select the entirety of that shape?
double click.
What mode are you in? You got to be in polygon mode first, right? Now double click. Oh, you actually accidentally hit the bevel tool. Let's go. Okay, double click. Now rotate it. Oops, double click. Yeah, there you go. Now rotate it. There you go, good. Yeah. Thomas.
Yeah, I was asking in the file render, should we have the lid removed from the cup?
Don't worry about it. That looks good. Perfect. Done. Upload. Yes, sir.
You wanted us to turn this in?
Yeah, but you have to make a couple more shapes, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
That's all I said.
Yep. Absolutely.
How do you make like the tiny hole or anything?
Tiny hole's a little bit more of a challenge. It's a lot more of a challenge. You have
But
to
I mean, like even like the triangular shape. Like
the triangle. Yeah, we're not there yet. But basically, what you'd have to do is that you'd have to kind of slice the top and then bevel that section
so
down.
split it into 2 pieces.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, Vlada, what's up? Yeah.
Catch before you take off. After render it, save image.
Yep. JPEG. Yep. Everything's a JPEG.
Had to redo the whole thing.
That's fine. Redoing the whole thing is good. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I totally lost it.
Okay.
Okay, so when you started out with the circle, right, and then you built your way up. So when I was trying to do the circle,
2 things before we get started.
yeah,
You're on the backdrop item. Click on coffee cup. Drop your tool because you're in a cylinder, right? There you go. Now start building. Always, always, always build in a mesh item. Okay.
let me see if it's coming.
All right.
So it builds the cylinder, right?
I think the problem that you're doing, drop your tool and hit undo for me to get rid of that person.
Undo.
Command Z. Oop. You were close. It's that one. There we go. Okay. So here's what I want you to do. We're going to do it again. Single left click. Oh, okay. Hit undo for me. Single left click. Don't drag. Okay. Now move your cursor away from the tool handles. Perfect. Hold down the control key. Now left click and drag. There's your perfect circle. Okay. What happens is if your cursor is at the center of the tool handle, it creates a cylinder. Yeah.
And then we'll just, what's it called? Flip it.
Yep. Rotate it, and then start with the bevel.
Okay.
All right. Now, careful, careful, careful. When you went down, you didn't do that lip up here at the top.
Oh.
And so that bottom polygon is actually bigger than the outside shape of your coffee cup,
Okay.
which is why it looks all kind of funky over
Okay.
here. Do me a favor, can you like hit undo and kind of go back in time a couple steps? Undo. It's Command Z if that helps, which is that one. Keep cruising. We may get lucky. Maybe get lucky. Here we go. 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 Aha! Okay. So the bevel tool's on. So what do we got to do? Just click.
Yeah.
Yeah, click. There's the tool handles. What are you going to do now?
Shift.
Well, shift is only when you reapply it.
Oh,
Okay. Yes. No, that's perfect. Keep going. Keep going. That's good. Next, see how you're making the little lip here?
Oh, okay.
All right. We're kind of making like the thickness of the paper cup.
Oh, okay.
What's next?
And then shift to drag it down.
Now, what I want you to be very careful on, when you're holding down the shift key and clicking, don't click on a handle. Click off the handle. So try it again. Did you just do it?
Yeah.
Okay, now pull it down with the blue. Make sure you're grabbing the blue.
Oh, okay.
Grab the blue handle. Yeah, there you go. Now bring it down. And as you go down the inside of the coffee cup, you may also have to do a little bit of the inset, the red handle, taper it. Yeah.
Should I do the left right now?
Say again?
Should I do the left right now?
Sure, absolutely.
I don't
Yeah.
think
Yeah, let's see. Oh, okay, hold on.
I'm sorry, does she need
Hold.
a computer?
Yes. Are you done, Thomas?
Yeah, I mean, these accept.
Perfect. Upload, and you're ready to go. Okay? He's going to give you your machine.
Okay.
If you would like, you can also go over to the design lab and do it there.
Okay, so then am I supposed to email you the homework?
Upload to D2L.
Drop.
Dropbox on D2L. Okay, real quick, everyone. Real quick. Yusra just asked a very important question. Can I have your attention, please, just for one moment? Yusra just asked a very, very important question that I just want to make sure we're all on the same page on. Whenever you're done with your lab work or your homework, you're uploading to D2L. Okay? There's Dropbox on D2L. Let me show you where on D2L you're going. We went over this last week, but since we're now in action, let's just revisit that real fast. Okay, I want to go to the web browser. And at the bottom of the homework page, there's actually a button that says Submit Your Assignment. That's going to take you to D2L. Okay? Here's D2L. If you log in, all right, you can see inside of Fall 213, you should see GCOM 402. Okay? If you click on it, it's going to take you to your D2L portal. Let me change the role so you guys can see so you'll see on the screen what you're used to seeing. Okay, so here it is, Dropbox. Dropbox right there. If you go to the Dropbox section, here's the Dropbox for the coffee cup. Okay. When you're finished with your homework and your lab, click on the link. And here's the thing that I need you to do. Okay. If I can have everyone's attention just for 2 seconds, this is a critical step that people often miss on the first week. Okay, check this out. When you're done, you have to attach your file to the submission. Okay? There's two things that you're adding here, right? The LXO and your render. You hit the upload button. You upload both the files. And then you hit done. Okay? So are you done though? No. I'm going to close out of here. When you hit done, you've finished attaching files to your submission. You haven't turned your homework in until you've hit the submit button, okay? People often miss this on the first time out or the second time out. They think when they hit done that they're kind of done. They're not, okay? Hit submit, and then it gets turned in.
Something you've touched up in previous classes, I don't think you touched up in this class, importance of file naming. If you go back to that orthography page, there's actually 2 file names that you want us to name those.
Yes. Yeah, get as close to those naming conventions as you can. Okay? All right, questions? It's quitting time. Thank you so much for your participation today, folks. If you have any questions, please make sure you visit my office hours. I'll be here on campus tomorrow from 11 to 12 p.m. And then the next opportunity you'll have to see me is from 10:30 to 11:30 on Tuesday. Have a good weekend. Hold on 2 seconds. I want to stop the live stream. You're free to go. Yeah, absolutely.